Chapter 2600. As soon as the metal beast core appeared in Lu Ming's hand, the metal ball immediately bounced up and shook vigorously like a piece of jelly. A large mouth and a pair of eyes appeared on the metal beast core. The eyes shone brightly as they stared at the metal beast core in Lu Ming's hand. Swish! The metal ball directly jumped over, opened its mouth, and swallowed the beast core in one gulp. Then it began to chew. After a while, the metal beast core was completely eaten by the metal ball. Then it looked at Lu Ming eagerly. Lu Ming took out a few more, but they were all eaten by the metal ball in a few bites. This can't go on. Where can I find so many metal beast cores for it to eat? Lu Ming furrowed his brows. Metal beast cores are actually a type of forging material. I wonder if this fellow will eat other metal-attributed forging materials? At the thought of this, a piece of forging material appeared in Lu Ming's hand. It shone with different colors. They were all metals of different attributes. Gotcha! As soon as Lu Ming took it out, it was swallowed by the metal ball in one gulp. It seemed to be eating with relish. It really ate it. This fellow's teeth are really good. Then will it eat a combat weapon? Lu Ming thought for a while and took out a great emperor weapon. The metal ball stretched out two tentacles and grabbed the great emperor weapon. Then it chewed it into pieces. Then its round body shook as if it was saying that the combat weapon's grade wasn't high enough and it wasn't tasty enough. Lu Ming was speechless. In the next moment, a bow and arrow appeared in Lu Ming's hand. This was the Fallen Star bow, a damaged heavenly Dao weapon. When Lu Ming's cultivation was still weak, it had helped Lu Ming a lot. The metal ball grabbed it and swallowed it in a few bites. Only then did the metal ball reveal a hint of satisfaction in its eyes. I'll give you a few more. Lu Ming took out a few more heavenly Dao weapons, including the Great Desolate Spear. The Great Desolation Spear had been damaged in the battle with the outsider Sacred Ancestor. Furthermore, to the current Lu Ming, heavenly Dao soldiers were useless. He could shatter them with a wave of his hand. The metal ball did not reject them. It chewed and swallowed the heavenly Dao soldiers one by one. After swallowing them, the metal body emitted a layer of light. It then looked at Lu Ming eagerly. This guy's appetite is too big. Lu Ming had a headache. Then he gritted his teeth and took out two weapons, a saber and an axe. They were both divine artifacts, but they were only low-grade Tier 1 divine artifacts. They were all Lu Ming's spoils of war from the enemy. In Wan Jingxing's battle, Lu Ming and the others had all obtained several divine items. However, the highest was a low-grade 3rd-tier divine item. They hadn't obtained anything higher than a low-grade 4th-tier divine item. Seeing the two low-grade 1st-tier divine items, the metal ball's eyes shone. It grabbed them and started chewing. This was a divine weapon. Although it was only a 1st-tier inferior-grade divine weapon, it was extremely sturdy. Even with Lu Ming's current ability, it would take him some effort to destroy it. However, the metal ball could bite off a large piece of it with just one bite. It ate with a delicious sound. The metal ball ate a little slower. After half an hour, the metal ball finally destroyed the two divine artifacts. Its entire body glowed, and it had a satisfied expression on its face. This guy won't eat divine items often in the future, right? Thinking of this, Lu Ming's face darkened. Each divine item was expensive. If he continued eating like this, he would definitely go bankrupt. However, thinking that the metal ball would level up if it ate too much, Lu Ming's heart began to burn. As long as there were enough metal materials and weapons for the metal ball to eat, the metal ball would continue to level up. It would be of great help to him in the future. Let's eat some low-grade ones first. I'll think of something. Lu Ming pondered. Then he took out some of the refining materials he had collected over the years. He had collected too many refining materials over the years. In the past, he had given some to the Dragon League for them to refine, but there were still a lot left. However, their grades were not high. Although he had only taken out a portion of it, it was still piled up like a small mountain. Seeing so many metal materials, the metal ball's eyes lit up. It pounced into the pile of materials and began to eat them in big bites. In the next half a month, Lu Ming stabilized his realm while observing the metal ball's situation. In this half a month, the metal ball had eaten almost all of the refining materials Lu Ming had collected. However, the metal ball showed no signs of leveling up. It seems that the grade of the refining materials is too low. They can't provide enough energy for the metal ball. Lu Ming sighed. Lu Ming guessed that after the metal ball swallowed the materials, it would be able to absorb the spiritual essence of the materials to level up. Only when it had absorbed enough spiritual essence would it be able to evolve and level up. To the metal ball, which was already at level 2 empty God realm, the energy contained in the low-level crafting material was too little. What should I do? Do I have to keep feeding the weapon? How can I afford to feed it? Lu Ming sighed. Wait. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. If he couldn't afford to feed the weapon, then he would feed the weapon fragments. In the chaotic universe, there were countless people killing each other every day. There were also countless people who went to various forbidden lands, dangerous lands, and unknown planets to take risks. Every day, there would be magical weapons that would break. When the weapons broke, there would be magical fragments. The metal ball only needed the spiritual essence of the metals. In that case, eating the magical fragments was the same as eating the weapons. However, the price of the magical fragments was much cheaper than the weapons. The price of the magical fragments was even cheaper than refining materials of the same grade. This was because refining materials could be used to refine weapons directly. However, if he wanted to use the magical fragments again, he would have to extract the materials from the magical fragments first. However, when refining a god artifact, all kinds of different materials were completely intertwined and mixed together. It was very difficult to extract them. The cost of labor was also high. This resulted in the price of the magical fragments not being very high. Let's go and buy the magical fragments. Haha. At the thought of this, Lu Ming was overjoyed. He grabbed the metal ball and walked out. The metal ball was like a lump of liquid metal. At this moment, it moved along Lu Ming's palm and turned into a golden bracelet. It was worn on Lu Ming's wrist. Not bad, this is not bad. Lu Ming was overjoyed. It turned into a bracelet on his wrist to avoid attracting attention. Let me give you a name, Lu Ming said as he looked at the bracelet on his wrist. A pair of eyes appeared on the bracelet and looked at Lu Ming expectantly. You're so round like a ball. I'll call you Cho Cho. What do you think? Don't you think it sounds nice? Lu Ming said. The blinking eyes of the metal ball seemed to like the name. Dandan, Bubbles, Cho Cho. Lu Ming thought of Dandan, Bubbles, and the others and smiled inwardly. He was quite satisfied with his ability to come up with names. Outside, Lu Ming soared into the air. Not long after, Lu Ming arrived at the place where the righteous army traded their treasures. Chapter 2601. Half an hour later, Lu Ming walked out of the place where the righteous sky army traded their treasures with a frown. He had bought some fragments of divine artifacts, but not a lot. It was only equivalent to 10 divine artifacts, and they were all low-grade divine artifacts. He had spent 200 divine gems. These fragments aren't enough. Where should I buy them? Lu Ming pondered. Lu Ming! Suddenly, a crisp voice sounded. Lu Ming looked up and saw Tong Shi. Lu Ming, are you here to buy treasures? Tong Shi flew over with a smile. Yes, but I'm here to buy some fragments of divine artifacts. However, there aren't enough fragments here. Lu Ming said, buy fragments of divine artifacts. Tong Shi's eyes flickered as she thought of the metal ball. The righteous sky army isn't big, and they lack powerful refining materials, so they don't have many fragments. Even if they have fragments, they won't sell them here. Tong Shi explained. Oh, Miss Shi, Where can I buy a large number of fragments? Lu Ming asked. If you want to buy a large number of fragments, you can only go to Cloud Peak City. Tong Shi said. Cloud Peak City? You mean Cloud Peak City, where the Cloud Peak Pavilion is located? Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he said, the chaotic galaxy was extremely vast, and there were many planets with life. In addition, there were many planets without life. There were countless planets of different sizes. Therefore, there were many forces of different sizes. For example, there were at least 800 if not 1,000 forces like the Righteous Sky Army and the Yuanluo Palace. However, among the many forces in the chaotic galaxy, the most powerful force was undoubtedly the Cloud Peak Pavilion. This was because the Cloud Peak Pavilion had a heavenly god. There were many forces in the chaotic galaxy, but only the Cloud Peak Pavilion had a heavenly god. It was undoubtedly the most powerful force. Cloud Peak City, where the Cloud Peak Pavilion was located, was the most prosperous place in the chaotic Star River. There were many things that one could buy here. Yes, I'm also going to Cloud Peak City to buy some pills to break through to the next realm. We can go together. Tong Shi said. All right. Lu Ming nodded. When he went to Cloud Peak City, he also wanted to sell a good weapon. During this period of time, Lu Ming had been using the divine artifact battle sword that White Fang had given him. However, after using it for a long time, Lu Ming still felt that the spear was more comfortable. Although cultivating the battle character's secret art would allow one to use any weapon with ease, Lu Ming had only started cultivating not long ago. He had started using a spear, so he was used to using a spear. Furthermore, White Fang's divine artifact battle sword was only a low-grade, third-tier divine artifact. It was still a bit low-grade. Lu Ming wanted to buy a higher-grade spear. Just now, he had asked around in the Righteous Army, but he hadn't been able to find anyone suitable. Immediately, the two of them stepped onto the Righteous Army's teleportation array and rushed towards Cloud Peak City. Upright Sky Planet was very far away from Cloud Peak Planet, where Cloud Peak City was located. They had to cross the boundless starry sky. Even if they took a teleportation formation, they couldn't reach it in one go. They had to be teleported several times. Furthermore, with such a long teleportation, even if they took a teleportation formation, it would still take a long time. After 3 days of continuous teleportation, they finally arrived at Cloud Peak City. What a majestic city! Walking around the streets of Cloud Peak City, Lu Ming couldn't help but exclaim. After coming to the primitive universe, Lu Ming finally felt that the primordial realm of the Heaven Realm was too small. The surface area of Dark Underworld Planet was equivalent to 10,000 Heaven Realm, Primordial Realm, and Evil God Realm combined. The surface area of Upright Sky Planet was several times larger than Dark Underworld Planet. However, Cloud Peak Planet, where Cloud Peak City was located, was at least 10 times larger than Upright Sky Planet. Heaven Realm, Primordial Realm, and Evil God Realm were simply dust compared to Cloud Peak Planet. Just the surface area of Cloud Peak City was probably equivalent to the surface area of hundreds of Heaven Realm, Primordial Realm, and Evil God Realm combined. One could imagine how huge it was. Cloud Peak City was extraordinarily lively. All the major and minor forces in the chaotic galaxy could come here. The chaotic galaxy was very chaotic and killings could be seen everywhere. However, Cloud Peak City was an exception. Cloud Peak Pavilion had a rule that Cloud Peak City was a place for business and killing was not allowed. If one wanted to kill, one would have to go to a specific battle stage. Whoever disobeyed the rule would be hunted down by Cloud Peak Pavilion. Hence, Cloud Peak City was very safe. This was the only way to attract countless people to do business, to trade, to buy, or to sell treasures. If it wasn't safe, who would dare to come here if they could kill and steal treasures at any time? Hence, the two of them were more at ease and strolled around casually. 2 days later, the two of them came to the biggest market in Cloud Peak City. There was a sea of people and shops. There were all kinds of shops. Refining materials, various divine elixirs, sacred weapons, and sky treasures were available. There were even divine skills for sale. Lu Ming went in to take a look. The prices were shockingly high. Even the lowest level 1 divine skill was not something that Lu Ming could afford. It started at least tens of thousands of divine gems. At a divine elixir shop, Tong Shi-er bought the divine elixir that she needed. She had accumulated enough. When she returned, she would be able to break through to level 2 empty God realm. Then they came to a sacred weapon shop. "Sir, how can I help you?" Immediately, a beautiful young lady came up to them. "Hello, I am looking for a long spear sacred weapon." Lu Ming smiled. "A long spear sacred weapon? What grade do you need? I can recommend it to you." The young lady smiled. "A lower rank 5 sacred weapon or above." Lu Ming said, "All right, please follow me." The young lady brought Lu Ming to a room. There were all kinds of long spears, sacred weapons hanging in the room. "This is a lower rank 5 sacred weapon, hurricane spear. It costs 3,000 divine gems. This is a lower rank 6 sacred weapon, roaring flame spear. It costs 7,000 divine gems." The young lady introduced the items to Lu Ming. "What an expensive price!" Lu Ming exclaimed. "A lower rank 5 sacred weapon cost 3,000 divine gems. A lower rank sacred weapon corresponded to a void god realm. Generally, void god realm people used lower rank sacred weapons. True god realm people used middle rank sacred weapons. So on and so forth. Divine king realm people used supreme rank sacred weapons. One had to know that hunting for metal beast cores in Myriad Gold Star, a level 5 void god realm wild beast core, was only worth 80 divine gems. But a lower rank 5 sacred weapon long spear cost 3,000 divine gems. Of course, refining a sacred weapon, the refining materials used could not be just one type. It required a combination of many materials and also the refining cost. In the end, Lu Ming chose a lower rank 6 sacred weapon long spear, meteor spear. It cost 7,000 divine gems. These divine gems aren't enough. Lu Ming sighed. Previously, when he broke through to 4-star Heavenly Emperor, he used around 5,000 divine gems. Now he spent another 7,000. 40,000 divine gems. Only 28,000 remained. Chapter 2602. "Miss, do you have divine weapon fragments for sale here?" Lu Ming put away the meteor spear and asked again. "Of course we do. What grade of divine weapon fragments do you need?" "Different grades of divine weapon fragments have different prices." The young woman said, "Low-tier divine artifact shards. Any grade will do." Lu Ming said. Then, with the young woman's introduction, Lu Ming bought a large number of divine weapon fragments. As expected of Cloud Peak City, there were so many divine weapon fragments here that they could be piled up like a mountain. Moreover, the price was indeed cheap. Not to mention divine weapons, it was much cheaper than divine weapon materials. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and spent another 10,000 divine gems to buy a large number of divine gems of various grades. It was enough for Qiu to eat for a while. Lu Ming's divine gems shrunk again, leaving him with only 18,000 divine gems. "I have to think of a way to earn some divine gems," Lu Ming muttered. 18,000 divine gems were simply not enough for him. As his cultivation increased, he would need even more divine gems when he broke through in the future. The two had bought everything they needed. They walked out of the shop and planned to take the teleportation formation back. "Tong Shi-er, and you brat!" Suddenly, an ear-piercing and resentful voice sounded. Lu Ming turned around to take a look. He could not help but reveal a cold smile at the corners of his lips. What a coincidence! He ran into an old acquaintance. Behind him were two young men. One of them was the young master of Yuan Luo Palace, Kong Long. At this moment, Kong Long was staring at Lu Ming with resentment. Back then, he had been captured by Lu Ming and handed over to the righteous army as a hostage. This matter was a great humiliation to him. He hated Lu Ming to the core and always wanted to take revenge on Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming was hiding in the righteous army, and he could not do anything. He did not expect to meet him in Cloud Peak City. Kong Long, Situ Xiao, Tong Shi. His eyes flashed as she recognized the two. Brat, I'll tear you to pieces sooner or later. Kong Long's eyes were cold and full of cold killing intent as he stared at Lu Ming. If it wasn't for the fact that killing was prohibited in Cloud Peak City, he would have killed Lu Ming long ago. A loser like you dares to spout nonsense here? Who doesn't know how to brag? Lu Ming glanced at Kong Long, full of contempt. You! As soon as Kong Long thought about being captured and imprisoned by Lu Ming for several months, his anger soared to the heavens and he gnashed his teeth. Seeing Lu Ming's contemptuous look, he wished he could slap Lu Ming to death. Boom! A powerful aura erupted from Kong Long's body and pressed down on Lu Ming. Level 1, Empty God Realm. It was apparent that Kong Long had broken through to Empty God Realm from Demigod. The commotion attracted the attention of the passers-by, who looked over to watch the show. You want to fight? Come on. Lu Ming hooked his finger. He didn't believe that Kong Long would dare to fight in Cloud Peak City. If he did, he would be digging his own grave. Brat, I'll challenge you to a fight in the fighting ring. Kong Long stared at Lu Ming angrily. You? Loser, I'm not interested. Lu Ming curled his lips, and Kong Long was furious. After taking a few deep breaths, Kong Long forced himself to calm down and said, You're the one who doesn't dare! Previously, he had been defeated by Lu Ming because he had been careless. Now that he had broken through to level 1 Empty God Realm, his combat strength had increased tremendously. He was confident that he could easily suppress Lu Ming. You don't have to provoke me. I'm not interested in a loser. If there's nothing else, get out of my way. Lu Ming waved his hand casually. He was telling the truth. Kong Long's cultivation was only at level 1 Empty God Realm and he could suppress him easily. He was not interested. However, Lu Ming kept calling him a loser. In Kong Long's ears, this was simply the greatest insult to him. Kong Long's face turned red and he gritted his teeth. Since you're not going to fight with Brother Kong, I'll challenge you. Do you dare to fight? At this moment, the young man beside Kong Long spoke. He had a fair complexion and he was fanning himself with a fan in his hand. He had a confident smile on his face. Lu Ming, this is the young sect leader of Walkabout Sect, Situ Xiao. He's at level 2 Empty God Realm. Tong Shi sent a message to Lu Ming. Walkabout Sect was a force that was similar to Yuan Luo Hall and the Jingtian military. You want to challenge me? Lu Ming looked at Situ Xiao. That's right. Do you dare? If you don't, I won't make things difficult for you. Situ Xiao said with a fake smile. To be honest, I'm not interested in you either. With your cultivation, I can suppress you easily. Lu Ming curled his lips. Situ Xiao's eyelids twitched, and he stopped fanning himself. A cold killing intent shot out from his eyes. Lu Ming actually said that he could suppress him with a flip of his hand? What a joke! He could clearly feel that Lu Ming was only at the transformation void martial stage. A transformation void martial stage martial artist dared to speak so arrogantly. He was simply courting death. However, if you dare to make a bet with me, I can fight with you. Lu Ming paused for a moment and continued. Bet? How? Situ Xiao asked. 20,000 divine gems. Each of us will take out 20,000 divine gems. Whoever wins will take the other party's 20,000 divine gems. How about that? Lu Ming said, 20,000 divine gems. Situ Zhao's face changed slightly. 20,000 divine gems was not a small amount. What, you don't dare to bet? Then forget it. Lu Ming's face was full of contempt as he turned around to leave. I'll bet 20,000 divine gems. Situ Xiao said. He did not think that he would lose at all. Hence, he agreed without hesitation. All right, let's go to the fighting ring. Lu Ming said. Immediately, Lu Ming, Tong Shi Kong Long, and Situ Xiao headed to the fighting ring nearby. Let's go and have a look. The young man is only at the transformation void martial stage. He dares to challenge a level 2 empty god realm genius. Interesting. The people nearby followed Lu Ming and the others. Soon, they arrived at a fighting ring nearby. The fighting ring was surrounded by people. Take out 20,000 divine gems. I need a middleman to prevent you from reneging on your debt. Lu Ming looked at Situ Xiao. How can I lose? Ridiculous. Situ Xiao sneered. That's hard to say. How would you know if we haven't fought? Lu Ming smiled faintly. He then looked around and said, Which senior can be the middleman? I'll do it. A silver-haired elder walked out, and a powerful aura exuded from his body. Level 9, Empty God Realm. Many people's faces changed. In the chaotic galaxy, a true God Realm expert was definitely an expert. A Level 9, Empty God Realm expert was the backbone of many forces. All right. Thank you, Senior. Lu Ming handed a storage ring to the silver-haired elder. There were 20,000 divine gems in the ring. Lu Ming did not have enough divine gems to pay 20,000 divine gems. On the way, he borrowed another 2,000 from Tong Shi. Chapter 2603. That's good too. Situ Xiao snorted. He took out a storage ring and passed it to the silver-haired elder. The silver-haired elder scanned the storage ring with his spiritual senses and said, There are 20,000 divine gems in each ring. The winner will get the divine gems. Young man, come up. Situ Xiao said coldly as he stepped onto the fighting ring. Lu Ming flew onto the fighting ring and stood opposite Situ Xiao. That young man is only at the transformation void martial realm, and he dares to challenge a level 2 empty god. Does he have something to rely on? I can't figure it out. The difference between the transformation void martial realm and the empty god realm is too big. Even if he is a supreme talent, it would be hard for him to challenge someone of a higher realm. His opponent is Situ Xiao. I have heard that he is also a supreme talent with royal-grade divine force. Does that mean that the young man is going to lose? I don't know. I can't figure it out either. Let's wait and see. Many people were discussing among themselves. However, most of them felt that Lu Ming was no match for Situ Xiao. After all, the transformation void martial realm was the first step of cultivation, and the empty god realm was the second step of cultivation. It was only a step away, but the difference was like heaven and earth. Unless he was a supreme talent, he would not be able to overcome it. However, the chaotic galaxy was such a small place. How could there be such a supreme talent? However, some of them felt that Lu Ming was confident. Since he dared to accept the challenge, he must have something to rely on. They were curious about what Lu Ming was relying on. Everyone stared at the two of them on the fighting ring. Young man, I will make you kneel down in 3 moves. There was a strong murderous intent in Situ Xiao's eyes. His figure swayed, and he appeared in front of Lu Ming like a fleeting shadow. He lifted one hand and pressed it down. Divine power whizzed and pressed toward Lu Ming like a mountain. He wanted to force Lu Ming to kneel down on the spot. Situ Xiao was full of confidence. He was a supreme talent, and he had royal-grade divine force. His strength was much stronger than those at the same level as him. Even a level 2 empty god would not be able to withstand his attack. However, Lu Ming's expression did not change. He pointed his finger like a sword and stabbed it toward Situ Xiao's palm. You are courting death. Then I'll break your fingers. Situ Xiao grinned malevolently and added more strength. Bang! Lu Ming's finger collided with Sidu Zhao's palm, causing a violent explosion. Force qi spread out in all directions, and a figure was forced to retreat 5 or 6 steps before he could stabilize himself. The one who retreated was naturally Sidu Zhao. How is this possible? Many people around them were shocked. Lu Ming actually repelled Sidu Zhao in one move. This simply exceeded everyone's expectations. It was unbelievable that a transformation void stage martial artist could defeat a level 2 void god stage genius with one move. Situ Zhao probably underestimated his opponent and didn't use his full strength, but this is still extremely shocking. Someone sighed. At this moment, Sidu Zhao was also extremely shocked. His palm was pierced by Lu Ming's finger, and he felt waves of pain. Earlier, he had indeed underestimated his opponent. He had only used 70% of his strength, but it was still extremely shocking. One had to know that he was in control of king, grade, divine power. This brat is a demon. Today I'll destroy him. Situ Zhao roared in his heart. He unleashed all of his strength and charged towards Lu Ming. Good timing. Lu Ming was fearless. He unleashed all of his strength as well. His entire body was filled with dazzling, purplish gold radiance as he charged towards Sidu Zhao. Boom! 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 The two of them clashed continuously and fought fiercely. For a moment, it was hard to determine the victor. Although Situ Zhao's cultivation level was at level 2 void god stage, his divine power was king grade divine power. It was extremely dense, and his attack power was strong. His strength was enough to fight against a level 3 void god stage existence. As for Lu Ming, he was a 4-star heavenly emperor. Without activating the battle character manual to double his combat power, he could also fight against a level 3 void god stage existence. Hence, for a moment, it was hard to determine the victor. It seems like there's a difference in strength between king grade divine power. As they fought, Lu Ming pondered. Tong, Shi are also controlled king, grade, divine power. However, Lu Ming felt that Tong Shi was stronger than Situ Zhao when they were at the same level. There was a difference in strength between king, grade, divine power. Bam! 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 The two of them exchanged more than 10 blows, but it was still hard to determine the victor. How can this be? How can he be so strong? Situ Zhao roared in his heart. At that moment, he was anxious. He no longer wanted to make Lu Ming kneel down. He only wanted to win. Otherwise, the 20,000 divine gems would be gone. Below the fighting ring, the one who was most shocked was Kong Long. His face was pale without a trace of blood. He could not stop muttering, "How can this be? How can this brat be so strong? Damn it, D***MN it." At the same time, he was scared. Luckily, Lu Ming did not agree to fight with him. Otherwise, he would lose badly. "I hope Sidu Zhao can defeat him," Kong Long prayed in his heart. It was a pity that his wish was destined to fail. "Is this all you've got? Let's end this." Lu Ming's voice resounded. At the same time, his power suddenly surged. The battle character manual had activated the double combat strength. After activating the double combat strength, Lu Ming's combat strength was enough to fight with a level 4 empty god realm martial artist. Situ Zhao was no match for him. Boom! Lu Ming threw out a punch. The terrifying force of the punch was like an avalanche as it pressed down on Situ Zhao. Crack! Situ Zhao's arm was broken by Lu Ming's punch. Situ Zhao's body retreated and he vomited blood. Bam! Lu Ming took a step forward and continued to attack. Situ Zhao took out a sacred weapon to counterattack. However, he was sent flying by Lu Ming in a few moves. "Kneel down!" Lu Ming shouted coldly. He lifted his hand and pressed it down. The sovereign's power formed a huge palm and pressed down on Situ Zhao. Situ Zhao roared and resisted with all his might. However, he was no match for Lu Ming. He could not block Lu Ming's power. Boom! A powerful force acted on Situ Zhao's body. His body arched, and with a loud thud, he knelt on the ground in front of Lu Ming. Ah! Situ Zhao roared like a madman. He, the dignified walkabout sect young lord, was actually kneeling in front of Lu Ming. He was so mad that he could not wait to grind Lu Ming's bones into dust. What are you shouting for? A defeat is a defeat. What's the use of shouting? Lu Ming shouted. Situ Zhao's body was sent flying out of the fighting stage. He vomited blood and could not get up for a long time. Lu Ming did not kill Situ Zhao because there was no need to. Furthermore, if he really did kill Situ Zhao, the walkabout sect would probably go crazy and attack the righteous army with all their might. Defeated, Situ Zhao was defeated. A transformation void martial artist can defeat a level 2 empty god realm genius. How is this possible? Sovereign's power. It's the sovereign's power. He controls the sovereign's power. What? It's the sovereign's power. No wonder. The scene was noisy. Many people recognized Lu Ming's power. It was the sovereign's power. Chapter 2604. Once the sovereign power was converted into divine power, it would be the sovereign divine power. This was a divine power. Even in the vast chaotic universe, it was a rare divine power. It had never appeared in the chaotic galaxy before. Now, there was actually someone who could control the sovereign power. No wonder it's so terrifying. He can actually defeat an empty god realm martial artist as a transformation void martial artist. This is too shocking. The sovereign power. Which superpower is he from? It's a pity that his cultivation is too low. Otherwise, it would be terrifying. Many people looked at Lu Ming, their eyes filled with shock. I was still recognized. Lu Ming himself was speechless. When he fought just now, he had already done some tricks to hide it. However, he was still recognized as the sovereign power. The main reason was that once the sovereign power was used, its characteristics were too obvious. It was easy to be recognized. It seems like I still have to find a way to hide the characteristics of the sovereign power. Otherwise, I will be recognized the moment I fight. It will be too eye-catching. Lu Ming thought to himself. Before he was strong enough, it was not a good thing to attract too much attention. Sometimes it might even lead to a fatal disaster. Senior, I won. Lu Ming walked towards the silver-haired old man. Little brother, you are really a rare talent. If there's a chance, I will treat you to a drink. The silver-haired old man smiled and took out 2 storage rings and passed them to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took them and smiled. I still have things to do now. If there's a chance in the future, I will treat you to a drink. After exchanging some pleasantries, Lu Ming and Tong Shi left the place together. Lu Ming, I will definitely take revenge. Below the fighting ring, Situ Zhao struggled to get up. He looked in the direction that Lu Ming had left. His face was pale and filled with resentment. Lu Ming and Tong Shi did not stop. They went to the transportation array of Cloud Peak City and headed towards Upright Star. After a few days, Lu Ming returned to Upright Star. This time, he had won 20,000 divine gems from Situ Zhao. Lu Ming was in a good mood. This trip to Cloud Peak City was not in vain. Lu Ming now had 38,000 divine crystals, which was a few thousand more than he had before. After returning to his residence, Lu Ming took out a pile of divine tool fragments for Qiuqiu to eat. Qiuqiu was immediately excited. It hugged a large pile of divine artifact fragments and munched happily. At this time, Lu Ming looked in a certain direction. There was a powerful aura coming from that direction. A huge tortoise appeared in the air, surrounded by countless runes. Dandan. With that, Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared on top of a mansion in the city. This mansion used to be Dandan's residence. Dandan was trying to break through to the martial god realm. It had been cultivating in seclusion since it came to the primitive universe. Now, It was finally beginning to break through. Big Brother Lu Ming! A figure flashed and Bubble appeared beside Lu Ming. It grabbed Lu Ming's hand and shook it with all its might. After not seeing it for a while, Bubble's cultivation had improved a lot. It had already reached the peak of the Heavenly Emperor realm. Needless to say, Bubble's talent was definitely top-notch. Furthermore, the cultivation environment in the primitive universe was too good. In addition, Lu Ming had given some resources to it. It was normal for its cultivation level to improve by leaps and bounds. However, after so many years, Bubble still looked like a 6 or 7-year-old. Its growth speed was shockingly slow. Whoosh! Whoosh! Figures appeared nearby. They were all attracted by Danden's breakthrough. This old tortoise actually broke through faster than us. The Titan longhorn beetle sighed. Ching Song, 9 lives demon silkworm, and the others also sighed. They had broken through to the demigod realm around the same time as Danden. However, they were still some distance away from the martial god realm. On the other hand, Danden had already broken through. Boom! In Danden's mansion, the aura was even stronger. A huge tortoise figure was suspended in the air. Between heaven and earth, endless energy gathered towards Danden. This guy's breakthrough is really big. Lu Ming's eyes moved. Although the commotion caused by Danden's breakthrough wasn't as great as Xian Yinqing and Xian Yinjuan's, it was much greater than other breakthroughs. The world turtle originally came from the primitive universe. It is indeed extraordinary. At this moment, ancestral Gragon also appeared not far away. The world turtle came from the primitive universe. Lu Ming was puzzled. Titan Longhorn, 9 lives demon silkworm, Ching Tsang, and the others also looked at ancestral Gragon curiously. They did not know about this. That's right. Ancestral Gragon nodded and said, back then, most of the top 10 battle beasts in the Heaven Realm were mutations of various divine beast races. They had unique talents, but there were also a few that came from the primitive universe. The world turtle was one of them. The other one is this little guy. Ancestral Gragon then looked at Bubbles. Bubbles also came from the primitive universe? Lu Ming muttered. In addition to these two, the Holy Spirit and also came from the primitive universe. Unfortunately, it fell in the ancient war. Ancestral Gragon sighed. At this moment, Danden's aura was even more shocking. It was like a black hole, absorbing the divine qi from the outside. The divine qi is not enough. Go. Lu Ming immediately realized that Danden's breakthrough was not enough to absorb the divine qi from the outside. He immediately waved his hand, and 3,000 divine gems flew towards Danden. The divine gems shattered and turned into divine qi, which was absorbed by Danden. After absorbing the divine gems, Danden's aura reached its peak. Then it retracted it. Ha ha ha! I've finally broken through and reached the martial god realm. A savage voice was heard. Danden soared into the sky with divine force all over its body. It was insufferably arrogant. It felt like it was filled with an inexhaustible amount of energy. It glanced around and saw Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming, come. Fight with me. I won't let you surpass me. I'll show you how powerful I am. Danden shouted arrogantly. Oh, sure. Lu Ming bared his teeth and smiled. He stepped into the air and slapped him. A purple-gold giant hand was formed and pressed down on Danden. Ah, Lu Ming, you! As soon as Lu Ming struck, Danden's expression changed. She tried her best to resist, but it was useless. The big hand pressed down, and Danden fell to the ground like a meteorite, stirring up dust in the air. Ah, Lu Ming, you tricked me. In the next moment, Danden rushed out with a dusty face. It was as pathetic as it could be. Ha ha! The Titan longhorn beetle and the others were laughing and crying. You're the one who wanted to fight with me, Lu Ming said innocently. You pervert! Danden held back for a long time before he could say that. He originally thought that after his breakthrough, his strength had skyrocketed, and the divine force he controlled was extraordinary. He thought that he could compete with Lu Ming. Now, it seemed that he was completely wrong. He made up his mind that unless he was completely confident, he would never fight with Lu Ming again. "Old Turtle, aren't you going to treat us to a drink after breaking through to the martial god realm? Let's go and drink." Ching Tsang, the Titan longhorn beetle, and the others pulled Dandan and asked him to treat them to a drink. As the strength of the people coming out of the heavenly realm became stronger, everyone felt a lot more relaxed. Chapter 2605. When he returned to his residence, he saw that Qiuqiu was still gnawing on a pile of divine item fragments. The divine item fragments weren't ordinary, so Qiuqiu naturally didn't digest them that quickly. Moreover, every time it ate, it would have to stop and digest them. Lu Ming didn't bother with Qiuqiu and cultivated by himself. In the blink of an eye, half a year passed. Qiuqiu had eaten all of the divine item fragments Lu Ming had bought. It had finally evolved once more, and its cultivation base had risen to the 3rd level of the Void God Realm. However, Lu Ming didn't have any more divine item fragments to give it, so he could only give it some ordinary metal-attributed refining materials. As for Lu Ming, he continued to cultivate. Just like that, 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. After cultivating bitterly for 5 years, Lu Ming had made great progress in all aspects. His cultivation base had risen again, and he had become a 5-star heavenly emperor. Of course, he had also used over 10,000 divine crystals. In addition, his comprehension of the battle character art had become deeper and deeper. Now, when he used the battle character art, the increase in his attack power had become greater and greater. Moreover, the chances of activating the battle character art had become higher and higher. On average, he could succeed after activating it twice. However, the battle character art seemed to have reached a bottleneck at this point. Lu Ming hadn't made any progress in a while. Just cultivating bitterly isn't enough. I still need to go out and temper myself. Lu Ming thought to himself as he ended his cultivation. If he didn't encounter a bottleneck and cultivated bitterly, it was fine. However, once he encountered a bottleneck, just cultivating bitterly wasn't very effective. Cultivating and tempering oneself required killing to trigger inspiration and make a breakthrough. This was also the reason why many people would go out and adventure. Not only could they obtain fortuitous encounters, but they could also temper themselves and break through bottlenecks. Let's go take a look at the righteous army. Lu Ming walked out and headed towards the righteous army. No one stopped him when he arrived at the righteous army's headquarters. Although Lu Ming and the others hadn't officially joined the righteous army already treated them as part of it. There was a mission hall in the righteous army's headquarters. Actually, most factions would have a mission hall like this. "Senior, are there any people who are suitable for the empty god realm?" Lu Ming came to a counter and asked a white-haired old man. Recently, the most important task is naturally the battle with the Yuan Luo Palace and the Walkabout sect. The white-haired old man said, "Yuan Luo Palace and Walkabout sect." Lu Ming frowned slightly. That's right. In the past few years, the Yuan Luo Palace and the Walkabout sect have joined forces to attack some of the vital planets controlled by our righteous army. Our righteous army has also been sending experts to fight against them. Anyone who kills a member of the Yuan Luo Palace or the Walkabout sect will be rewarded. The white-haired old man said, "The Yuan Luo Palace and the free and unfettered sect are joining hands? Could it be that it was caused by me beating up that Sidu Shao last time?" Lu Ming couldn't help but think so. The Walkabout sect has long wanted to join forces with the Yuan Luo Palace to deal with the righteous Sky Army. Sure enough, they've made their move. "Little guy, do you want to accept this mission? If you do, I'll register you," the white-haired old man asked. "All right, then I'll accept this mission." Lu Ming nodded. It seemed that the two forces weren't attacking him because he had beaten up Sidu Shao, but because the Yuan Luo Palace and the Walkabout sect had long planned to join forces. Soon, the old man finished the formalities for Lu Ming. I've registered you. Recently, many people have accepted this mission. Tomorrow morning, gather with the others and head to Northern Shang Planet. The white-haired old man gave Lu Ming a black iron token. Lu Ming took it and left. A day passed in the blink of an eye. The next morning, Lu Ming returned to the mission hall. Those who are going to Northern Shang Planet to carry out a mission, gather here. As soon as Lu Ming arrived, he heard someone shouting in the mission hall. Lu Ming walked over. Brother, are you going to Northern Shang Planet to carry out a mission? A large man looked at Lu Ming. Yes. Lu Ming took out the black iron token. All right, then we'll wait here first. When almost everyone is here, we'll set off, the large man said. Lu Ming nodded and walked to the side. As time passed, more and more people gathered. Half an hour later, more than 200 people had gathered here. They were all going to Northern Shang Planet to carry out a mission. They were all in the Void God Realm. All right, almost everyone is here. Let's go, the large man said. Everyone headed toward the teleportation array. A teleportation array couldn't teleport so many people at once. They had to take turns. Groups of people went up and stepped into the teleportation array, disappearing from the array. Soon it was Lu Ming's turn. Lu Ming also stepped into the teleportation array. The next moment, he appeared on a flat ground. This is an island. As soon as he appeared, Lu Ming heard the sound of waves crashing from all directions. There was also a salty sea breeze blowing over. He felt refreshed. Lu Ming rose into the air and looked around. He found that this was indeed an island. The island wasn't big. At a glance, he could see the boundless ocean. Soon, everyone passed through the teleportation array. Follow me. Let's go to 7 Stars Island first, and then we'll assign the specific missions. Also, I'll explain the current situation of Northern Shang Planet to you on the way, the large man said. Everyone followed the large man and flew out of the island toward the vast ocean. The large man's name was Pan Jiang. He had been guarding Northern Shang Planet. This time, he had specially gone to pick them up. On the way, Pan Jiang introduced the current situation of Northern Shang Planet. The situation of Northern Shang Planet was rather special. It was located at the intersection of the Jingtian Army and the Yuan Luo Palace. Therefore, Northern Shang Planet had become a place that both forces had to fight over. Therefore, half of Northern Shang Planet was occupied by the Jingtian Army and the Yuan Luo Palace. The mainland and the ocean each occupied 50% of Northern Shang Planet. The Jingtian Army occupied the ocean and islands of Northern Shang Planet and exploited the resources in the ocean. On the other hand, the Yuan Luo Palace occupied the mainland part of Northern Shang Planet and exploited the resources there. The two sides often fought and killed each other. Experts of the Jingtian Army would often sneak into the mainland of Northern Shang Planet to kill people of the Yuan Luo Palace and seize the resources there. Sometimes people of the Yuan Luo Palace would sneak into the islands of the ocean to kill experts of the Jingtian Army. In short, the fighting between the two sides had never stopped. However, in the past 2 years, the Yuan Luo Palace had increased their forces on Northern Shang Planet. The fighting between the two sides had become more frequent. The Jingtian Army had also been increasing their forces on Northern Shang Planet. 7 Stars Island was the headquarters of the Jingtian Army on Northern Shang Planet. They flew across the vast ocean and passed by many islands. 3 days later, they finally arrived at 7 Stars Island. 7 Stars Island was incomparably large. Although it was called an island, it was no different from a mainland. At least from Lu Ming's point of view, 7 Stars Island was no smaller than the Grand Clear Sky Domain in the Heaven Domain. There were many people coming and going on 7 Stars Island. All of them were experts. At a glance, there were at least a few thousand people, and all of them were Void God realm experts. Lu Ming was inwardly shocked. There were so many experts on Seven Stars Island. One could imagine the strength of the entire Jingtian army. Chapter 2606. One had to know that the Jingtian army had occupied more than a dozen planets with life. There were also some planets that had no living beings but were guarded by experts who were mining resources. How many empty God realm experts were there in the Jingtian army? There were probably tens of thousands of them. In the entire chaotic galaxy, there were at least 800 forces that were not weaker than or stronger than the Jingtian army. It was hard to count how many empty God realm experts there were in the chaotic galaxy. No wonder the primitive universe was also called the divine world, the world of the gods. They stopped at an empty space on the Seven Stars Island. Wait for me here. I'll go ask where we're going to station. After Pan Jiang finished speaking, he flew into a large hall. Soon, Pan Jiang came out of the hall and said, "The island we're going to station is Chunjindao. Follow me." Pan Jiang took the lead and flew in a direction. Everyone followed. On the way, Pan Jiang explained the situation of Chunjindao. Chunjindao was north of the Seven Stars Island. It was an island with veins. There was a large vein of Chunjindao on the island. Chunjindao was a kind of refining metal. Although it was not very precious or rare, it had a wide range of uses. Normally, when refining low-grade divine weapons, a portion of Chunjindao would be added as a supplementary material to increase the toughness of the divine weapon. Therefore, Chunjindao was often attacked by the Yuanluo Palace. Chunjindao originally had 600 empty God realm experts guarding it. But now, with 600 empty God realm experts, it was getting more and more difficult to defend it. Therefore, they needed reinforcements. They were here to reinforce Chunjindao. A day later, they arrived at Chunjindao. Chunjindao was not very big. There was a large vein on it. There were caves around the vein. Each cave was guarded by an empty God realm expert. In the vein, there were tens of thousands of living beings below the empty God realm who were mining day and night. When Lu Ming and the others arrived, they were naturally received and assigned caves. Soon, Lu Ming was assigned a cave. It was quite spacious, and the divine qi was quite dense. Lu Ming was just about to sit down and rest. Dong! 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 Suddenly, the sound of war drums came from outside. "Enemy attack! Enemy attack!" Loud roars echoed throughout the entire island. What a coincidence! Lu Ming was also a little speechless. They had just arrived, and they had already encountered an enemy attack. Without much time to think, Lu Ming rushed out of the cave in a flash. Boom! 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 Whoosh! 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 Deafening booms came from the sky above the island. Saber light and sword light illuminated the sky. Divine power of various colors collided in the sky. Many people were already fighting intensely. Kill! Lu Ming soared into the sky, charging towards a big man with a wide mouth and sharp fangs. Each of them came here with a black iron command medallion, which was both a mission medallion and an identity medallion. It was bound to their life aura. Once they died, the black iron command medallion would shatter. They could distinguish each other's identity through the aura emitted by this black iron token. This way, it would be easy to tell if they were from the Yuan Luo Palace. "Brat, a transformation void martial realm dares to fight with me. I will eat you." The big man with a wide mouth and sharp fangs charged towards Lu Ming. His aura was not weak as he was at level 2 empty God realm. Boom! Lu Ming activated the battle character secret art to double his combat strength. At the same time, he took out the meteor spear and thrust it out. The meteor spear seemed to have turned into a meteor, flashing past. The big man with a wide mouth and sharp fangs was pierced through, and he died on the spot. Kill! Lu Ming held the meteor spear and charged towards another expert from the Yuan Luo Palace. That expert was at level 3 Empty God Realm, but he could not withstand Lu Ming's spear and was stabbed to death by Lu Ming. Now that Lu Ming's cultivation had broken through to a 5-star Heavenly Emperor, his combat strength had increased by another level. When Lu Ming was a 4-star Heavenly Emperor with the battle character Secret Art, he could fight against a level 4 Empty God Realm expert. Given Lu Ming's current cultivation level, coupled with the double combat power of the Battle Word Sutra, Lu Ming was able to kill a level 4 Void God. Of course, if he were to fight against a level 5 Empty God Realm expert, he might not be a match. The main thing was that every time a Heavenly Emperor's cultivation increased by 1 level, it would not be as long as the Empty God Realm. If he wanted to fight against a level 5 Empty God Realm existence, Lu Ming would need to break through to a 6-star Heavenly Emperor. Brat, you are courting death. Seeing that Lu Ming had killed 2 people in a row, a purple-skinned big man targeted Lu Ming and charged towards Lu Ming. Rip! The purple-skinned big man used a pair of halberds. When he waved them around, the power was terrifying. Peak level 4 Empty God Realm, come at me. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He waved his meteor spear and charged over. The long spear vibrated and rays of dazzling spear radiance burst out, fighting with the purple-skinned big man. Dang! Dang! The 2 of them fought wildly, and in the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. Phew, the purple-skinned big man could not resist and was suppressed by Lu Ming. He kept retreating. How is this possible? The purple-skinned big man was shocked. Lu Ming was only at the transformation void realm. How could he have such strong combat strength? The purple-skinned big man was at the peak level 4 Empty God Realm, but he was not a match for Lu Ming. Instead, he was suppressed by Lu Ming. It was like a fantasy story. The purple-skinned big man burst out crazily and waved his halberd wildly, fighting with Lu Ming. Not enough, not strong enough. Lu Ming muttered to himself. His long spear did not stop, forcing the purple-skinned big man to retreat. A level 4 Empty God Realm martial artist could not give Su Mo too much pressure. It was of limited use to him in training. Bam! After a few more blows, the purple-skinned big man was hit by Lu Ming's long spear. He retreated and vomited blood. Die! Lu Ming said coldly and stabbed his spear towards the purple-skinned big man's forehead. The speed was unbelievably fast. Not good. The purple-skinned big man was shocked and retreated frantically. However, his speed could not keep up with Lu Ming's speed. Swoosh! At this moment, a snow-white blade radiance flashed. It was extremely fast and accurately hit Lu Ming's long spear. Whoa! The long spear vibrated crazily, and a terrifying blade energy followed Lu Ming's long spear and rushed towards Lu Ming's arm. Lu Ming felt a sharp pain in his palm, as if it was about to be cut open. Lu Ming crazily unleashed the power of the master to block the saber force. In the next moment, a skinny old man with purple hair and 3 eyes appeared in front of the purple-skinned big man. Evil God Tribe. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This old man was very similar to the Evil God Tribe in the Evil God world. It was very likely that he was from the same tribe as the divine ancestor of the variant tribes. Lu Ming had looked up a lot of information in the Righteous Army and knew that there was a tribe in the primitive universe called the Three-Eyed Tribe. The Evil God Tribe might belong to the Three-Eyed Tribe. Chapter 2607. This burly man was obviously a member of the Three-Eyed Tribe. However, he was much more powerful than the divine ancestor. Level 5 Empty God Realm. Lu Ming muttered. The Sovereign Tao. Lad, you must be the ant that escaped from the small thousand world. My tribesmen in that small thousand world have all died at your hands. Today, I will turn you into ashes. The three-eyed tribe elder's eyes were cold as he stepped out. Divine force surged as the war saber in his hand vibrated, forming a terrifying saber chi that pressed down on Lu Ming. Come on! Lu Ming's eyes were filled with a strong fighting spirit. Level 5 empty god realm. Only such an expert could give him such a strong pressure. Lu Ming's sovereign Tao force and sovereign Tao force surged within his body. The meteor spear shone brightly, raising his combat strength to the maximum. Kill! The three-eyed tribe elder roared as his war saber sliced through the air at an extremely fast speed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming brandished his long spear and met the attack head-on. Dang! 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 In an instant, the two of them had exchanged more than 10 blows. Lu Ming felt that his opponent's saber chi was like an avalanche as it surged towards him in waves. The power was shocking. The long spear vibrated and his arm went numb. Lu Ming was pushed back by the force of the attack. Powerful. Level 5, empty god realm. I am no match for you. A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Previously, he had estimated that he was no match for a level 5 empty god realm expert. Now that they had exchanged blows, he realized that the combat strength of a level 5 empty god realm expert had exceeded his expectations. The gap between each level of the empty god realm was huge. The higher the level, the greater the gap. However, this had stimulated his fighting spirit. Again, Lu Ming stepped into the air and merged with his long spear, turning into a ray of spear radiance that shot towards the three-eyed tribe elder. This lad! Shock flashed in the eyes of the old man from the three-eyed race. The killing intent in his heart intensified as he slashed out with his saber, aiming for Lu Ming. The two of them continued to fight. However, Lu Ming was no match for the old man. He was suppressed by the old man from the three-eyed race and kept retreating. However, Lu Ming's tenacity was amazing. He blocked the old man from the three-eyed race, and it was not easy for the old man to kill him. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged dozens of blows. Awesome, awesome. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Deep in his bones, he was still fond of fighting. He longed to take risks and kill. At this moment, his blood was boiling once again. This kid is too terrifying. He must be eliminated. He must be eliminated. The more he fought, the more terrified he became. Lu Ming was too strong. He was only at the transformation void martial stage, but he actually had such a strong battle strength. Not to mention seeing it. He had never even heard of it. With such battle prowess, if he were to become a god, how terrifying would he be? Quick, attack with me and kill this kid. The old man from the three-eyed divine palace sent a message to the surrounding experts of the Yuan Luo Palace. At this moment, the sky above the Chen gold mine was filled with intense fighting. There were 600 to 700 people from the Yuan Luo Palace who had launched a sneak attack. They were all empty god realm experts and were locked in a fierce battle with the experts of the Jingtian army. There were many people fighting around Lu Ming and the old man from the three-eyed divine palace. Naturally, there were some experts who had noticed Lu Ming. Instantly, the experts from the Yuan Luo Palace shook off their opponents and charged towards Lu Ming. The experts of the Jingtian army wanted to stop them, but they could not catch up. At this moment, at least 3 experts charged towards Lu Ming. The 3 of them were all at the level 5 empty god realm. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 level 5 empty god realm experts attacked at the same time. Furthermore, the purple-skinned man that Lu Ming had previously suppressed was also included. With so many experts attacking at the same time, Lu Ming would definitely not be able to block them and would be killed instantly. Chiu Chiu! Lu Ming waved his hand and the bracelet on his wrist flew out. This bracelet was naturally formed by Chiu Chiu. Chiu Chiu flew out and rapidly expanded. Its liquid metal body started to wriggle and turned into a huge shield that blocked in front of Lu Ming. Dong! Dong! Boom! Boom! All the attacks were blocked and Lu Ming was unharmed. Then, Qiu Qiu's body moved and turned into a metal ball with a diameter of 10 meters. It smashed towards the purple-skinned man's face. Poof! The purple-skinned man's body was like a watermelon that was smashed into pieces by Qiu Qiu. He died on the spot. Now that Qiu Qiu had advanced to the level 3 empty god realm, its combat strength had increased tremendously. When Qiu Qiu was at the level 1 empty god realm, it could already fight against a level 4 empty god realm expert. Now, it could even fight against a level 6 empty god realm expert. The purple skin man was only at the level 4 empty god realm and naturally could not block Qiu Qiu's attack. After killing the purple skin man, Qiu Qiu's body shot out and smashed towards a level 5 empty god realm expert. Bam! That expert was sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood. What kind of monster is this? The others felt their hair stand on end. This metal ball did not look like a divine weapon, but its power was shocking. A level 5 empty god realm expert was sent flying and spitting out blood. The power of the ball was too terrifying. Swoosh! The metal ball smashed towards the three-eyed holy tribe elder. Let's work together. The three-eyed holy tribe elder shouted. He and the other 3 level 5 empty god realm experts worked together and blasted out their strongest attack against Qiu Qiu. Boom! There was a loud boom. The three-eyed holy tribe elder and the other 3 level 5 empty god realm experts trembled violently and retreated. Blood flowed out from the corner of their mouths. Qiu Qiu's current strength was comparable to a level 6 empty god realm expert. A level 6 empty god realm expert was much stronger than a level 5 empty god realm expert. Even if the three-eyed holy tribe elder and the other 3 joined forces, they could not block Qiu Qiu's attack. Qiu Qiu, continue! Lu Ming called out to Qiu Qiu. At the same time, he rushed over and attacked with all his might. His attacks were aimed at the injured level 5 empty god realm expert. Qiu Qiu also rushed out and swelled into a metal ball with a diameter of 10 meters. It bombarded the enemy continuously. At this moment, the experts of the Jingtian army had arrived and attacked the three-eyed holy tribe elder and the others. In this way, they could not block the attacks. Instantly, the three-eyed holy tribe elder and the other 3 were injured. The one who was injured by Qiu Qiu was even more severely injured. Qiu Qiu, smash him! Lu Ming transmitted a message to Qiu Qiu. Boom! Qiu Qiu stared at the injured person and smashed him with all his might. The other party was already injured and could not block the attack. Half of his body exploded and he almost died. How could Lu Ming miss such an opportunity? The meteor spear pierced through the body and killed the other party. Lu Ming used the sovereign's power and took the storage ring. Of course, the other party's weapon was also kept by Lu Ming. The other party was a level 5 empty god realm expert, and he must be rich. How could he miss such an opportunity? Retreat, retreat quickly. The 3 three-eyed holy tribe elders were frightened when they saw one of their own being killed. They did not dare to fight and retreated quickly. Chapter 2608. However, Lu Ming and the others would not let them off so easily. Lu Ming and the other experts from the righteous army worked together to hold back the 3 elders from the three-eyed divine tribe. Ball, smash! Lu Ming stared intently at the elder from the three-eyed race, calling for Qiu Qiu to smash his head and face. I'll fight you to the death! The three-eyed divine tribe elder roared as he slashed his war blade at Ball. A huge mouth full of sharp teeth suddenly appeared on Qiu Qiu's round body and bit down on the three-eyed old man's saber. Crack! A section of the three-eyed divine tribe elder's war blade was bitten off. The three-eyed divine tribe elder was dumbfounded. He was completely dumbfounded and his mind was in a mess. His war blade was a lower rank 5 divine weapon and was extremely hard. How could it be broken so easily? However, it had been bitten off by Bal Bal. He was dumbfounded. At this moment, Lu Ming seized the opportunity and stabbed his spear through the three-eyed divine tribe elder's forehead, killing him instantly. With a wave of his hand, he kept the three-eyed divine tribe elder's storage ring. Crack! Crack! Cho opened its mouth wide and swallowed the other party's saber in a few bites. Then it chewed with satisfaction, making crunching sounds. Even the experts from the righteous army were stunned. The other two experts from the Yuan Luo Palace seized the opportunity and rushed out of their encirclement. Retreat! Retreat! At this moment, a voice rang out from the sky. It was a terrifying existence from the Yuan Luo Palace. The aura he emitted was shocking and unfathomable. Lu Ming estimated that he was a rank 9 empty god realm expert. However, the righteous army also had someone of such a level. The two of them had been fighting, and now that they had separated, the Yuan Luo Palace gave the order to retreat. Swoosh! Swoosh! The experts from the Yuan Luo Palace retreated and turned into rays of light, disappearing without a trace. The righteous army did not chase after them. They understood that they should not chase after a cornered enemy. Moreover, their mission was to guard Qin Jindao. The people of Yuan Luo Palace retreated. The righteous Sky Army counted the casualties and cleaned up the battlefield. Then, they all returned to their cave residences. After a great battle, some people were injured and some people suffered heavy losses. All of them needed time to recover. Lu Ming also returned to the cave, then took out some divine crystals and began to recover. Activating the battle incantation to double one's combat strength consumed a lot of world energy and ruler's power. Half an hour later, Lu Ming had fully recovered. Then, a black iron token appeared in his hand. It was the mission token. At this moment, the black iron token was emitting a faint glow. Lu Ming guessed that he had obtained it because he had killed an expert from the Origin Luo Hall. However, if he brought this token back, the people of the mission hall would probably be able to find out about Lu Ming's accomplishments and reward him accordingly. After putting away the token, Lu Ming took out a few more storage rings. These storage rings were obtained by Lu Ming after he killed his enemies. Among them, there were 2 5th-level Void God Realm experts. Lu Ming was looking forward to it and began to count them. After counting, Lu Ming was grinning from ear to ear. There were a total of 60,000 divine crystals. In addition to the divine crystals from before, Lu Ming had close to 100,000 divine crystals on him. In addition, there were more than a dozen divine artifacts of various grades. The highest grade divine artifact was a low-level 5 divine artifact. The others were all level 3 and level 4 divine artifacts. Together, they were worth a lot. Lu Ming casually threw 2 low-level 3 divine artifacts to Qiu to eat. Qiu grabbed them and ate them quickly. Lu Ming smiled and closed his eyes to cultivate. In his sea of consciousness, Jingyu's picture scroll opened and emitted a strong ruler's intent. Lu Ming calmed his heart and started to comprehend. He cultivated for 10 days. During these 10 days, it was very peaceful. The Yuan Luo Palace did not attack. After finishing his cultivation, Lu Ming stood up. Where's Qiu? Lu Ming looked around and did not find any trace of Qiu. Lu Ming scanned the cave abode and soon he made a discovery. Other than the hole, the cave dwelling was sealed on all sides. It was made of special rocks from the ore vein and was extremely hard. But now, there was a cave in the depths of the cave dwelling. Looking at the marks, it was clearly gnawed. There were teeth marks on both sides of the cave. Could this be gnawed by Qiu? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Then his muscles and bones began to wriggle. Finally, his entire body shrank and he rushed into the cave. The cave was very long. Lu Ming walked for a few thousand meters before he saw Qiu. Qiu was opening its mouth wide and gnawing on the surrounding rocks. The rocks here were actually the chin gold or vein. The chin gold or mixed with the rocks and became extremely hard. Normally, if one wanted to mine chin gold, they had to be extracted from the ore. The process was very complicated. However, Chiu directly swallowed the mineral vein in large mouthfuls. After a while, it spat out some powder and impurities. This guy, could it be absorbing the chin gold inside? How is that possible? Lu Ming was surprised. Chiu discovered Lu Ming and glanced at Lu Ming before continuing to eat. It ate at an extremely fast speed, and soon a huge cave had been created in this area. Lu Ming watched with interest. After eating for half a day, Chiu's body had swelled up. Then it stopped and rolled to the side like a rubber ball. It even burped and stopped moving. Obviously, it had eaten too much and was starting to digest it. This guy, Lu Ming smiled and did not care about it. After all, this vein was extremely huge. Chiu would not be discovered if it ate some secretly. Lu Ming returned to the cave dwelling and continued to cultivate. Occasionally, Lu Ming would walk out of the cave dwelling and ask about the situation outside. During this time, no one from the Yuan Luo Palace had come to attack Qinjindao. After a few more days, a piece of news came. The Yuan Luo Palace had sent out a large number of experts to attack the Seven Stars Island. Could the Yuan Luo Palace's real target be the Seven Stars Island? Was their previous attack on Qinjindao just a cover-up? Maybe they want to break through the Seven Stars Island and completely drive the Jingtian army out of northern Shan Planet and monopolize it. Very likely. Many people were guessing. As time passed, the Yuan Luo Palace's attacks on the Seven Stars Island became more frequent. The pressure on the Seven Stars Island increased greatly, and they started to transfer experts from the surrounding islands as reinforcements. Qinjindao originally had around 800 people guarding it. After 400 people were transferred, there were only 400 people left. Lu Ming was not transferred away and continued to guard Qinjindao. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at Qinjindao. A month had passed since then. On this day, Lu Ming felt a wave of energy coming from the tunnel that Chiu had created. Lu Ming's figure flashed and charged into the tunnel. In the depths of the tunnel, Chiu had already created a huge underground space. Chiu had devoured a large amount of ore veins. At this moment, Chiu's body was emitting waves of light. It was about to level up again. Chapter 2609. Chiu was about to advance again. During this period of time, it had swallowed a large amount of Qinjin ore. Although Qinjin was not considered precious, it was in large quantities. Chiu had swallowed a huge hole in the underground space of this area. No one knew how much Qinjin it had swallowed. Light spread out from Chiu's surface. It swelled and shrunk for a while before stabilizing. Success! Lu Ming sensed that Chiu had reached the 4th level of the Void God Realm. Even Lu Ming was shocked by this speed of improvement. When Wan Jingxing had obtained Chiu, it was only at the 1st level of the Void God Realm. In just a few years, it had reached the 4th level of the Void God Realm. It was not easy to advance in the Void God Realm. It was not something a heavenly emperor realm could compare to. However, Chiu did not seem to have any bottlenecks. As long as it had precious metals, it could continue to advance. The primitive universe is really mysterious. There are even such creatures. However, the more abnormal they are, the better. Lu Ming was grinning from ear to ear. Chiu bounced a few times in the air and flew to Lu Ming's side. It shrunk rapidly and turned into a bracelet, wrapping around Lu Ming's hand. Lu Ming smiled and was about to go out and ask for information. Dong! 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 Suddenly, violent war drums sounded, and even the cave residents shook. Enemy attack! A loud roar came from outside. Whoosh! Lu Ming did not hesitate and rushed out of the cave residence. So many people! As soon as he rushed out of the cave residence, Lu Ming was shocked. In the sky above the ore vein, figures were flying and emitting powerful auras. The experts of the Yuan Luo Palace were all experts of the Yuan Luo Palace. This time, the number of experts from the Yuan Luo Palace was shocking. There were at least 1,000 of them. And now, the righteous army had only left behind about 400 experts to guard the Qinjin or vein. Kill! 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 The densely packed experts of the Yuan Luo Palace dove down and attacked the righteous army. Puff! Puff! Blood splattered everywhere. Immediately, a few experts of the righteous army were killed. There were too many people from the Yuan Luo Palace, almost 3 times the number of the righteous Sky Army. With 2 or 3 of them joining hands to deal with 1 person from the righteous Sky Army, the battle was completely one-sided and unstoppable. Kill! As soon as Lu Ming rushed out, 2 people attacked him. However, one of them was a level 3 Empty God Realm Martial Artist, while the other was a level 4 Empty God Realm Martial Artist. Lu Ming was not afraid of them. Lu Ming directly rushed over. The meteor spear appeared in his hand and stabbed out. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 dazzling spear lights pierced out. Puff! The level 3 Empty God Realm expert was pierced by the spear radiance and died on the spot. Although the level 4 Empty God Realm expert managed to block the spear radiance, he was forced to retreat. So strong! The 4th level Ethereal God Realm existence was shocked. Previously, when he saw that Lu Ming was only at the Transformation Void Martial stage, he thought that he could easily kill him. He did not expect that he would kick an iron plate. Kill! After Lu Ming forced the 4th level Ethereal God Realm expert to retreat, he raised a spear and continued to attack. The long spear vibrated and spear radiance pierced out. The 4th level Ethereal God Realm expert tried his best to defend himself, but he was still unable to defeat Su Mo. He kept retreating and was in danger. That brat is still here. We must kill him. Kill! At this moment, not far away, a few people flew over and glared at Lu Ming. It's them. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. 2 of them were the level 5 Empty God Realm experts who had escaped from him and Chiu previously. This time, the 2 of them had brought 2 other experts to kill Lu Ming. The other 2 experts had terrifying auras and were stronger than the level 5 Empty God Realm experts. They were level 6 Empty God Realm experts. This brat is extremely talented. We must kill him. One of them stared at Lu Ming. Today he will definitely die, a level 6 Empty God Realm expert said. The 4 of them charged at Lu Ming with all their might. Before they arrived, they had already launched their attacks at Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not take the attacks head-on and retreated rapidly. Where are you going? The 5 of them were in hot pursuit, closing in on Lu Ming at lightning speed. Chiu smash! Lu Ming waved his hand and Chiu flew out. It turned into a huge metal ball with a diameter of 10 meters and smashed towards a level 5 Empty God Realm expert. Not good. The level 5 Empty God Realm expert knew how powerful Chiu was and retreated rapidly to avoid Chiu's attack. Be careful. This metal ball has the strength of a level 6 Empty God Realm expert. A level 5 Empty God Realm expert warned. It's all right. I will block this metal ball. You guys go and kill that brat. A level 6 Empty God Realm expert held a steel whip and charged towards Chiu. As he lashed out with the whip, the space whistled and the power was shocking. Chiu also smashed towards the expert. Boom! There was a terrifying explosion. As a result, the level 6 Empty God Realm expert spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated rapidly. Now that Chiu had advanced to level 4 Empty God Realm, its combat strength had increased tremendously. It was not something a level 6 Empty God Realm expert could compare with. How can this be? The other three experts' faces changed drastically as disbelief was written all over their faces. They originally wanted to kill Lu Ming and were not prepared for the metal ball. Boom! After injuring the level 6 empty god realm expert, Qiu Qiu smashed towards the two level 5 empty god realm experts. The two of them were not prepared at all and were hit directly. After two blood-curdling screams, they died on the spot. Not good. Retreat. The level 6 empty god realm expert's face changed drastically as he retreated rapidly and distanced himself from Qiu Qiu. Retreat, retreat. At this moment, a roar came from the sky. It was from a level 9 empty god realm expert from the Jingtian army. The Jingtian army was no match for Yuan Luohao. The difference in numbers was too great. Once they exchanged blows, many experts died. In just a short while, about 100 experts had died. You want to leave? Today, none of you will leave. A cold voice sounded as several terrifying figures charged towards the level 9 empty god realm expert from the Jingtian army. Boom! The two sides collided. The figures from Yuan Luohao were all level 9 empty god realm experts. There were a total of 3 of them. 3 against 1. There was no suspense at all. In just a few moves, the Jingtian army expert let out an unwilling roar and was killed in the air. Kill, leave no one alive. A level 9 empty god realm expert from Yuan Luohao gave the order. Charge, charge out. Gather together and charge out. Someone from the Jingtian army roared. The remaining 300 or so people charged in one direction and gathered together. Qiu Qiu, let's go. Lu Ming waved his hand and called Qiu Qiu as he charged towards the group. Right now, they could only survive if they worked together. Otherwise, they would all die. Lu Ming and Qiu Qiu charged towards the Jingtian army. Kill that brat. You must kill him. The level 6 empty god realm expert who had been injured by Qiu Qiu roared. His killing intent was like a blade. Whoosh! Then, a terrifying blade light slashed towards Lu Ming. Baidu search 81 Chinese networko. No advertising message. Chapter 2610. Lu Ming was just about to fly toward the righteous army when a terrifying saber light slashed at him. The saber light was deathly pale. Before it even arrived, Lu Ming's heart was already pounding and his hair stood on end. Danger, extreme danger. This was definitely the attack of an extremely terrifying existence. Their strength far surpassed the 6th level of the Void God Realm, and perhaps even the 7th level. A terrifying figure had set his eyes on Lu Ming. Not good. Lu Ming could only think of one thing. It was already too late to defend. At this moment, Qiu Qiu appeared on Lu Ming's left side and turned into a shield. Boom! The blade light slashed Qiu Qiu's body and directly pierced through the shield that Qiu Qiu had transformed into. However, Qiu Qiu had already absorbed the majority of the saber light's power. The remaining power was very limited, and its speed had greatly decreased. Lu Ming finally reacted. His meteor spear swept out and blocked that saber light. Qiu Qiu. Lu Ming's heart tightened. Qiu Qiu had been pierced through. Would it be all right? In the next moment, Lu Ming let out a sigh of relief. Qiu Qiu's body turned back into a ball. With a leap, it returned to Lu Ming's shoulder as if nothing had happened. This fellow is truly amazing. Lu Ming sighed inside. Then he increased his speed and charged toward the righteous army. There's such a treasure. Not far away, a silver-haired elder stared at Qiu Qiu with a blazing gaze. This silver-haired elder held a silver saber in his hand. That saber attack just now had been unleashed by him. With a swift movement, he dashed toward Lu Ming at high speed. At this time, Lu Ming had already met up with the righteous army. Nearly 300 people had gathered together. They were like a sharp saber as they charged forward with all their strength. Kill, kill, kill! Around them, more than 1,000 people from the Yuan Luo Palace surrounded Lu Ming and the rest, attacking them continuously. Terrifying attacks were launched at them. Lu Ming was also in the crowd, brandishing his spear to block the attacks. Brat die! That silver-haired elder stared at Lu Ming and continuously slashed his saber at Lu Ming. Luckily, Qiu had turned into a shield and protected Lu Ming's vitals. This was how he was able to block the opponent's attacks. Otherwise, Lu Ming would have been in danger. Charge! 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 The righteous army charged forward with their lives. Some people had even burned their divine power. Although the righteous army's people continued to die in battle, it was effective. After a while, they finally broke out of the encirclement and flew towards the ocean. Don't chase. That matter is more important. A 9th level Kayuki should be here. Kukiyu's group. A level 9 Empty God Realm expert. Instructed. Over 1,000 people from the Yuan Luo Palace gathered and attacked at the same time. One attack after another was directed at Chanjinghuang. The Chun gold mine exploded and shattered rocks flew everywhere. A large amount of the mine was sent flying and scattered everywhere. However, the people from the Yuan Luo Palace did not even look at it. Their target did not seem to be the Qin gold mine. Lu Ming and the others flew at top speed. They only slowed down when they realized that the people from the Yuan Luo Palace were not chasing after them. Damn it! Damn it! Many people roared. This time, they had suffered a great loss. Out of more than 400 people, only about 200 were left. It was a great loss. This time, they did not expect that the Yuan Luo Palace would suddenly mobilize such a strong force to attack the Qin Jingquang vein when they were initially concentrating on attacking the Seven Stars Island. Send the news to the Seven Stars Island. We must take revenge. Someone gritted his teeth and sent the news to the Seven Stars Island. Boom! At this moment, a beam of light shot up into the sky and pierced through the clouds. That is, everyone looked in that direction in shock. That direction was clearly the direction of the Chun gold mine. It's the Chun gold mine. What's going on? Someone was puzzled. Such a shocking phenomenon. We can see it clearly even from 100,000 miles away. There must be a rare treasure, or an expert's cave, or some ruins. Someone guessed. That must be it. I understand now. The Yuan Luo Palace must have received some information. Their original target was the Chun gold mine. The attack on the Seven Stars Island was just an illusion. Someone roared. Everyone was moved. Perhaps it was true. Perhaps the attack on the Seven Stars Island by the Yuan Luo Palace was just an illusion to confuse them. Not only could they restrain the forces on the Seven Stars Island, they could also lure away some experts from the Qin gold mine. Then, the Yuan Luo Palace would gather their forces and take over the Qin gold mine. No! Report this to the higher-ups. Report it to the general. Someone immediately sent the news out with a message, transmission, Jade Talisman. Then, they decided to send people to the Chun gold mine to investigate. At this moment, the Chun gold mine had completely changed. The mine had disappeared and a cave entrance appeared under it. A beam of light shot out from the cave entrance and pierced the sky. It only disappeared after half an hour. A sky god's cave dwelling. Ha ha ha, there really is a sky god's cave dwelling. Quick, send the news to the palace master. A bulky man laughed wildly. The others were also full of smiles as their eyes flashed with a fiery light. A sky god's cave dwelling. It was a cave dwelling left behind by a sky god. It was simply unimaginable. The chaotic galaxy was vast, and there were countless cultivators. There were also countless divine spirits that had reached the empty god realm. However, there were only a few who had reached the sky god realm in history. Now, the sky god that everyone knew was the pavilion master of the Cloud Peak Pavilion, the strongest force in the chaotic galaxy. That was the only known existence of the heavenly god realm in the chaotic Star River. One could imagine how valuable a cave dwelling left behind by a sky god was. Even if the sky god had left some useless things in the cave dwelling, it would still be a supreme treasure to others. The people of the Yuan Luo Palace immediately spread the news. Not only did they inform the palace master of the Yuan Luo Palace, but they also gathered more experts of the Yuan Luo Palace. Not long after, groups of experts flew over from the sky. They were all experts of the Yuan Luo Palace. They had rushed over to increase the strength of this place. 100,000 miles away, there was also a group of people from the righteous army that had met up with Lu Ming's group. They had already spread the news and informed the other party of their location. "What's going on?" Someone from the righteous army asked. "The Chen Jinghuang mine was ambushed by the Yuan Luo Palace. They sent out more than 1,000 empty gods, and more than 200 of us were killed. Only these people escaped." Someone explained helplessly. "Damn the Yuan Luo Palace." Someone from the righteous army roared. "Why did the Yuan Luo Palace ambush the Chen Jinghuang mine?" Someone asked. "There should be a treasure on the Chen Jinghuang Island." As soon as someone explained, a few figures flew over from afar. They were the people that had been sent to observe the Chen Jinghuang mine. "A cave dwelling has appeared on the Chen Jinghuang mine. A large number of experts from the Yuan Luo Palace have already gathered there." Someone who had gone to inquire about the news said. Chapter 26:11. What? A cave? So that's how it is. It must be the cave of an expert. The Yuan Luo Palace must be after this cave. They can forget about monopolizing it. We'll wait here for the general to arrive and kill our way back. Okay. The righteous army was shocked to hear that there was a cave of an expert in the Chen Jinghuang mine. They had excavated the Chen Jinghuang mine for so many years, but they hadn't found anything. Thus, the righteous sky army began to wait there. The Chen Jinghuang mine. "You guys, leave a group to guard the outside. The rest of you, follow me in and explore," a burly old man ordered. Yes, everyone bowed and accepted the order. They looked at the old man with respect in their eyes. This old man was a top expert of the Yuan Luo Palace, a terrifying true god expert. Every true god was a top expert in the Yuan Luo Palace. They ruled over a region and had the power to decide life and death. Under the old man's orders, the people of the Yuan Luo Palace left a group of people to guard the cave while the rest followed the old man into the cave. 100,000 miles away, Lu Ming and the others were waiting quietly. Lu Ming was also resting on the surface of the sea. Crack, 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 crack. Qiu opened its mouth and bit with all its might. Its eyes stared in the direction of the Chen Jinghuang mine. "What do you want to do?" Lu Ming asked. Crack, 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 crack. Qiu's large mouth kept on biting as its teeth collided. It even extended a tentacle and pointed in the direction of the Chen Jinghuang mine with a look of desire. "You want to go to the Chen Jinghuang mine?" Lu Ming asked. Crack, crack. Qiu's round body rolled a few times. "Okay, I'll go with you, but be careful," Lu Ming said after some thought. He was also curious and wanted to see what was going on with the cave of the Chen Jinghuang mine. Qiu turned into a bracelet and wore it on Lu Ming's hand. Lu Ming didn't tell anyone else and headed for the Chen Jinghuang mine alone. 100,000 miles was soon covered. So many experts. As they approached the Chen gold mine, Lu Ming discovered that there were at least a few thousand Yuan Luohal experts on the Chen Gold Island. With so many experts around, it's impossible for us to approach them head-on. What should we do? Right from the sea, Lu Ming's eyes lit up, and he dove into the sea. He dove down to a depth of 1,000 meters and approached Qin Jindao. No one from the Yuan Luo Palace was guarding the sea because the entire Qinjin Island was made up of Chun gold mines. They weren't worried about it. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at the seabed of Qinjindao. At this point, Qiu directly flew out, opened its mouth wide, and bit at Qinjindao. Whoosh! Qiu's speed was extremely fast. Soon, a large hole was bitten out of Chun Jindao's body. Then it kept moving forward, and soon a passageway appeared. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Perhaps they could use this to enter Qin Jindao's cave. Lu Ming looked delighted as he followed, closely behind Qiu. Crack, crack, crack. Qiu's speed increased as it moved deeper into the island. Originally, Qin Jindao's mines were extremely hard. Even an expert would find it difficult to dig a passageway. Moreover, it would cause a huge commotion, and the experts of the Yuan Luo Palace on the island would discover it. However, Qiu didn't make any noise as it swallowed the Chunjin mine. After an unknown period of time, Qiu, be careful. There's movement ahead, Lu Ming whispered, because there were bursts of explosions ahead, as if a great battle was taking place. Qiu slowed down a little. When it bit down on the mines, it didn't make any noise. After a while, the mines seemed to have been dug through, and a gap appeared. Lu Ming looked outside through the gap and took in the scenery outside. There was a huge building outside that was built with a type of black rock. It was so huge that one couldn't see the end of it with a glance. At the front of the building, there was a large door. At this moment, a group of people was attacking the door. However, there was clearly a great formation on the door. Rays of light flashed, and the group of people couldn't break the formation no matter how hard they tried, especially one of the old men. His aura was extremely terrifying and gave off a terrifying feeling. Every move of his exploded with terrifying power that bombarded the great formation on the door. What a terrifying expert! Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Even though there was still some distance between them, the aura emitted by the old man still made him fearful. The Yuan Luo Palace already has such a terrifying expert. This cave dwelling is definitely not small, Lu Ming thought. However, the experts of the Yuan Luo Palace couldn't break the great formation no matter how hard they tried. Damn it! The defensive power of this great formation is too strong. Even the surrounding walls have a great formation. It's impossible to break it open. Now, we can only wait for the palace master and the others to come and find a way to break it open. After attacking for a while, the old man stopped and said unhappily. The people of the Yuan Luo Palace were also helpless and could only stop and wait. Qiu, let's leave, Lu Ming whispered to Qiu. Then, Qiu turned around and left the place. Then it approached the building. Not long after, the vein disappeared and a pitch-black wall blocked their path. This wall was the wall of the building. Lu Ming took out a divine weapon battle sword and slashed it on the wall. However, there wasn't a single mark. The stone of this wall is very special. It's sturdy and indestructible. There's also the power of the great formation on it. It's impossible to break it open. Looks like we can only stop here. Lu Ming sighed. This cave dwelling must be extraordinary if it could attract the Yuan Luo Palace. If they could sneak in and obtain some treasures, they would definitely be rich. Lu Ming was also tempted. Unfortunately, there was nothing he could do about it. At this moment, Qiu opened its mouth and bit at the wall. Crack! A small piece of the wall was bitten off. This works. Lu Ming was tongue-tied. There was a great formation on the wall. Even that terrifying old man of the Yuan Luo Palace couldn't break it open. Yet Qiu could bite it open. It had completely ignored the great formation. Now Lu Ming only had one thought. Qiu's teeth were too good. Crack! Crack! Qiu bit with all its might. Although it wasn't biting fast and could only bite off a small piece each time, it would definitely bite through the wall and enter the building. Lu Ming waited expectantly. At this moment, more and more experts from the Yuan Luo Palace had arrived at the Qin gold mine. and more experts from the Jingtian army had arrived 100,000 miles away. However, neither side made a move. They were also waiting for the arrival of the strongest experts from both sides. Baidu searching 81 Chinese network. No advertising message. Chapter 2612. The headquarters of Yuan Luohal was situated on a giant planet. There was a giant city on this planet. Two figures were discussing something in a great hall in the city. One of them was a middle-aged man who looked somewhat similar to Konglong. He was the Yuan Luohal master, Kongji. The other was an elder with 3 eyes between his brows. He had long golden hair and was also from the 3-eyed race. He was of the same race as the foreign tribe's divine ancestor. This elder's status in Yuan Luohal was not to be underestimated. He was a grand elder and was extremely powerful. He was on the same level as the Yuan Luohal master. His name was Mo Kansas. The two of them were the strongest in Yuan Luohal, a sky god's cave dwelling. I didn't expect there to be a sky god's cave dwelling on northern Shang planet. Elder Mo, kin of the 3-eyed race, had a fiery look in his eyes. I thought it would at most be a true god's cave dwelling. I didn't expect it to be a sky god's cave dwelling. This is a great opportunity. The Yuan Luohal master's eyes were also fiery. Hall master, I'm afraid that Fa Ming of the Righteous Army has also received the news. I'm afraid he will rush to northern Shang planet. This is troublesome. Emokin frowned. Fa Ming was the name of the ancestor of techniques, that ant from a minor 1,000 world. If we had known earlier, we would have killed him back then, and there wouldn't be such trouble now. Murderous intent flashed in the Yuan Luohal master's eyes when he mentioned the ancestor of techniques. Unfortunately, he has already matured. Even if the two of us join forces, we may not be able to kill him. Emokin said, helplessly, when we obtain the treasures of the sky god's cave dwelling and our strength increases greatly, we will definitely kill him. Moreover, I already have a plan this time. That old man, Fu Heng, still owes me a favor. I have already sent him a message. He will delay Fa Ming for a while. The Yuan Luohal master said, Hall master is wise. I am relieved with Fu Heng's help. Hall master, let us depart now. Mo Kin said joyfully, let's go. The Yuan Luohal master and Mo Kin led a group of Yuan Luohal experts towards northern Shang planet. Righteous army, righteous star, and experts cave dwelling? Since the Yuan Luo palace has placed such importance on it, let's go take a look. Within a palace, the ancestor of techniques also received the news. He took a step forward and was about to head towards the teleportation portal to planet Northern Shang. Brother Fa Ming, where are you going in such a hurry? Right at this moment, an aged voice rang out, and a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. This figure was an old man with silver-white skin. Clearly, he was not a human. The old man wore a long white robe. He stood above the clouds and smiled at the ancestor of techniques. Fu Heng. The ancestor of technique frowned and said, Fu Heng, what wind blew you to my righteous army? Brother Fa Ming, it's been tens of thousands of years since we last met. I am here today to play a game of chess with you. Fu Heng smiled. You want to play chess with me? Another day, I'm not free today. The ancestor of law said, I can only play this game today. If it were any other day, I wouldn't be able to play this game. Fu Heng smiled and stepped forward. He arrived before the ancestor of technique and blocked his path. Kongji asked you to come? The ancestor of technique's expression darkened. Back then, I owed him a huge favor. I have no choice but to repay this favor. Fu Heng sighed. It seems like the cave abode in planet Northern Shang is truly extraordinary. To think that Kongji would ask you to delay me so that I can't rush to planet Northern Shang. Given how smart the ancestor of technique was, He figured out everything after thinking about it. Brother Fa Ming, let's play another game. I'll leave once the game is over. Fu Hong smiled and waved his hand. A huge flag appeared in the void. The ancestor of technique frowned. Fu Hong was extremely powerful. If they really fought, he was not confident at all. In fact, there was a high chance that he would lose to the other party. Instantly, thoughts flashed through the ancestor of technique's mind. All right, since you're so interested, let's play a game. The ancestor of technique was helpless as well. He sat cross-legged in the air, facing Fu Hong across the chessboard. At the same time, he sent a message out, informing the people of the righteous army that before he arrived at planet Northern Shang, they were not to interfere no matter what happened. Then he began to play chess with Fu Hong. Planet Northern Shang, Qin Jing Huang Vane. The Yuan Luo Hall Master, Kong Ji, and the others arrived. Greetings, Hall Master. The true immortal realm elder from before, and the others from the Yuan Luo Hall bowed. How is it? Have you all investigated this cave abode? The Yuan Luo Hall Master asked. Hall Master, we've already investigated it. However, there's a powerful defensive formation outside the cave abode. I can't break it with my cultivation. I'm afraid that we'll need the help of the Hall Master and the Grand Elder to break it, the true immortal realm elder reported. It's expected that there's a great formation. Let's go. The Yuan Luo Hall Master led a group of experts into the cave abode and arrived before the door of the building. Boom! The Yuan Luo Hall Master attacked right away. A terrifying attack blasted at the door. Rays of light immediately flickered on the door, blocking the attack of the Yuan Luo Hall Master. Boom! With a violent explosion, the great formation of the door shook violently. The strength of the Yuan Luo Hall Master was much stronger than the true Immortal Realm Elder. The true Immortal Realm Elder was only at the first level true Immortal Realm, while the Yuan Luo Hall Master had already reached the fourth level true Immortal Realm. It's effective. The Hall Master is so powerful. The eyes of the others from the Yuan Luo Hall lit up as they flattered the Hall Master. Let's attack together and break the great formation as soon as possible, the Yuan Luo Hall Master ordered. Then, the experts of the Yuan Luo Hall attacked together. However, this great formation was indeed very sturdy. Even if their attacks were effective, they couldn't break it in a short period of time. They needed to slowly grind away the energy of the great formation before they could break it. It would take a long time. On the other side, Ball was still biting the wall. At this moment, a huge hole had been bitten into the wall. It was at least a meter deep. This wall is really sturdy. Lu Ming was also speechless. Now he could only wait patiently. With his cultivation, there was nothing he could do to help. Just like that, a day passed. The wall had already been bitten 3 meters deep by Ball. Crack! With Ball's bite, the wall was finally bitten through. It's done! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Crack! Crack! Ball also became spirited and bit harder. Soon, a hole appeared and the wall was completely broken through. On the other side, dim light came from the other side. Lu Ming's body shrunk and rushed into the hole in the wall. In the next moment, he appeared in a passageway. This passageway was surrounded by pitch-black walls. They had directly dug through the wall in the middle of the passageway. Lu Ming identified the direction and then strode into the depths of the passageway. Baidu searching 81 Chinese network. No advertising message. Chapter 26:13. The passage was a few hundred meters long. After walking through the passage, Lu Ming found a courtyard. It turned out that the passage just now was just a small path on the side. This was the main courtyard. Boom! Boom! A series of explosions came from outside the courtyard. It was obvious that the entrance of the building was outside the courtyard. The Yuan Luo Hall Master and the others were attacking the formation of the entrance. They would never have thought that before they could break the formation of the entrance, Someone had already entered the building. I have to speed up. Lu Ming's figure flashed, and he went into the courtyard. There was a large hall in the courtyard. Lu Ming immediately looked around. The large hall was empty, and there was nothing. Lu Ming was a little disappointed. However, there was an inner hall after the large hall. Lu Ming walked into the inner hall. The inner hall was a little messy, and there was a huge platform. Lu Ming looked carefully and recognized that this platform should be used to forge weapons. Some materials were casually piled up in the corners. Crunch! Crunch! Qiu had already started eating. It stretched out 2 tentacles and grabbed the materials and started eating. This is star silver, black sky gold. Lu Ming swept his gaze across and discovered 2 types of extremely precious refining materials. Star silver and black sky gold were both materials that could be used to forge middle-grade divine artifacts. They were very precious. Wait! Lu Ming rushed over and quickly grabbed the star silver and black sky gold in his hands and put them away. These were only the materials that Lu Ming knew. There were many others that Lu Ming didn't know. They probably weren't of low grades. Lu Ming and Qiu swept these materials away like a whirlwind. Crunch! Crunch! Qiu glared at Lu Ming, as if saying that Lu Ming had snatched its food. These materials aren't cheap. Take them out and exchange them for something else. Lu Ming chuckled. Forging materials that could be used to forge middle-grade divine artifacts were definitely priceless. However, other than these materials, they did not find anything else of value. Lu Ming speculated that this should really be the cave residence of a powerhouse. That powerhouse was refining tools here, and some of the materials that he didn't need were left in the corner. These were the materials that Lu Ming had collected before. However, the item that the expert didn't care about was still shockingly valuable to others. Lu Ming looked around happily, but didn't find anything else. Lu Ming left the inner hall and returned to the outer hall. He discovered that there was a corridor at the side of the outer hall. Following the corridor, he arrived at another courtyard. In front of the courtyard, there was a tall building. However, the entrance to the courtyard was closed. There was also a grand array on the entrance. Lu Ming tried and realized that he couldn't enter at all. He was blocked by the array. Looks like we have to take a detour again. Lu Ming pondered for a moment, then went back the way he had come. He arrived at the side passage and exited through the opening Qiu had bitten open. How can I block this opening? Lu Ming pondered. Later, if Yuan Luo Hall Master and the others broke through the array and entered, they would probably find this opening. Qiu seemed to have seen through Lu Ming's thoughts. It opened its mouth and spat out a sticky black liquid that looked like a black liquid metal. The black liquid metal poured into the opening and rapidly solidified, completely blocking the opening. Lu Ming was a little dazed. He speculated that this black liquid metal was the impurities that Qiu had eaten. Anyway, the opening was blocked. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Then Qiu continued to gnaw on the Chun Jingquang vein and went inside the building. Estimating that it had passed the entrance, Qiu began to bite the black wall again. A few days later, Qiu bit through the wall. Lu Ming entered through the opening and found that he had entered the building behind the entrance. There were secret rooms here. Lu Ming began to search. At first, several secret rooms were empty. He did not discover anything until he came to the largest secret room. There were several shelves placed around the room, and on the shelves there were some jade bottles. Godly pills! Lu Ming's eyes glittered. Godly pills were the most useful for martial gods. There were actually some godly pills here. Lu Ming picked up a jade bottle and saw runes carved on it. These runes were used to seal the bottle to prevent the pills from leaking out. However, many years had passed, thus the power of the seal had weakened. Lu Ming soon broke the seal with the Tao of Ruler. He then opened the jade bottle. A strong medicinal fragrance immediately filled the air. There are more pills. Lu Ming was overjoyed. However, Lu Ming had no idea what the pills in the jade bottle were called, nor what they were used for. Lu Ming knew nothing about the pills. Screw it, I'll put them away first. I'll identify them later. With a wave of his hands, Lu Ming put away all the jade bottles. There were more than 50 jade bottles. After putting them away, Lu Ming inspected the secret room. There was a dark mark at the center of the room. This must be a secret room used to refine pills. The mark at the center must be where the cauldron was placed. Lu Ming speculated. Even though Lu Ming was not familiar with godly pills, he was an expert in pill alchemy in the heaven realm. Thus he was familiar with the steps of refining pills. He was able to deduce many things by observing the layout of the secret room. It was obvious that this was a secret room used to refine pills, but the owner of the room had left with the cauldron and most of the pills. Perhaps some of the pills that were not important to the owner of the cave had been left behind. They were the pills that Lu Ming had found before. However, the owner of the cave was probably not to be underestimated. Even if the owner of the cave didn't like them, it didn't mean that Lu Ming didn't like them. After walking out of the secret room, Lu Ming began to search again. Then he found a passage. However, this passage was also set up with a formation, so Lu Ming couldn't pass through it at all. This cave is really big. There are more inside. Let's continue. Lu Ming was full of smiles. This cave had obviously been abandoned by its owner. Almost all the good things had been taken away. But even if there were some left behind that were not important to the owner of the cave, they were still precious treasures. Lu Ming went out through the hole they came in from. Chiu Chiu repeated the same trick and spat out liquid metal to block the hole. Then, they continued to dig deeper into the cave. After walking for a while, Chiu Chiu continued to bite a hole in the stone wall, and Lu Ming entered. This time, the place they entered was a little special. They seemed to have entered a passage. The passage was very large, at least 100 meters in diameter, and there were smooth walls on all sides. In front of the passage, it was pitch black, and they didn't know where it led to. Lu Ming muttered to himself for a moment, and then walked along the passage. Hoo-hoo! Suddenly, there was a terrifying whistling sound in the passage. Then there was a strong suction force in the passage, and Lu Ming was sucked in. Baidu searching 81 Chinese network O. No advertising message. Chapter 2614. Not good. Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. The suction force in front of the passage was too strong. Lu Ming was not prepared at all and was sucked in at once. Swish! Lu Ming was like a small boat in a huge wave, drifting with the current and being thrown out. Soon the passage came to an end. However, there was an even larger passage at the end of the passage. The passage that Lu Ming was in was just a branch. The two passages converged together. Lu Ming was directly thrown into this larger passageway. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The larger passage was at least a few thousand meters in diameter and was filled with endless gales that blew in one direction. It was because of the gales that it produced such a terrifying suction force. The endless gales blew on Lu Ming's body like sharp blades, cutting Lu Ming's body and causing waves of stinging pain. Lu Ming hurriedly circulated his sovereign power and covered his body to resist the attack of the gales. Whoosh, whoosh, the gales whistled as Lu Ming was carried forward by the gales. In the blink of an eye, he had flown over 100 li. No, I can't be carried like this forever. Lu Ming's mind raced as he mustered all his strength and rushed to the side of the passage. The side of the passage was full of bumpy rocks. When Lu Ming approached the side of the passage, Lu Ming grabbed a protruding rock and finally stabilized his body. There's actually a hurricane passage in the depths of this cave. Where does it lead? Lu Ming pondered. Could it be that the true core of the cave was in the depths of the passage, and that he had to pass through the hurricane passage to reach the core of the cave? This was very likely. Many experts would set up formations or traps around their cave abodes to prevent others from entering. This hurricane passage was very likely set up by the cave abode's owner. Go along the side of the passage and take a look. Lu Ming made up his mind. Since he had come here, he did not want to give up. Immediately, Lu Ming followed the side of the passage and climbed the protruding rocks, slowly heading deeper into the passage. However, Lu Ming realized that the closer he got to the depths of the passage, the stronger the gales became. Lu Ming was very draining to resist the hurricane's power. Every once in a while, Lu Ming had to stop to rest and recover his strength. Just like that, Lu Ming walked for 3 days but still did not reach the end of the passage. This passage seemed to be endless with no end. Roar! At this moment, Lu Ming heard a beast roar. Beast roar? What's going on? Could there be desolate beasts or divine beasts here? Lu Ming revealed a puzzled look, but in the next moment his eyes widened. This was because he saw a huge, desolate beast soaring in the hurricane and flying toward Lu Ming. This was a strange, desolate beast. Its body was like a goshawk and it was covered in green feathers. However, its head was that of a lion. It was Lu Ming's first time seeing such a desolate beast with a lion's head and a bird's body. This desolate beast was completely unafraid of the gales. With a flap of its wings, it flew against the wind. Its gaze was like lightning as it swept towards Lu Ming. Swish! Swish! It flapped its wings a few times and flew towards Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. Its sharp claws swiped at Lu Ming. The wind howled and it was terrifyingly sharp. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He grabbed the rock with one hand and the meteor spear with the other. He stabbed out. Dang! The meteor spear stabbed at the other party's sharp claws, producing the sound of metal clashing. The lion-headed harpy was sent flying, but Lu Ming's spear also trembled violently, causing Lu Ming's arm to turn numb. What terrifying strength! Lu Ming's heart turned cold. He did not dare to be careless. Roar! The lion-headed harpy retreated and spread its wings to stabilize its body. Its eyes turned even colder. With a flap of its wings, it charged towards Lu Ming like a gust of wind. Its wings were like blades as they slashed towards Lu Ming. Swish! 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 Lu Ming held his spear with one hand and stabbed out rays of spear light as he engaged in a fierce battle with the lion-headed harpy. In a blink of an eye, both sides had exchanged dozens of blows. Finally, Lu Ming stabbed the lion-headed harpy's lower abdomen. The lion-headed harpy roared angrily as it retreated frantically. Feathers fell from the sky as it was swept away by the gales and disappeared at the end of the tunnel. Roar! Roar! The lion-headed harpy was infuriated. It constantly roared and flapped its wings rapidly. Swish! Swish! Wind blades formed and were sharper than ordinary divine weapons as they shot towards Lu Ming. Not good. Lu Ming did not hesitate and activated the battle character art to double his combat strength. Now, Lu Ming could activate the battle character art's double combat strength after activating it twice. After activating the double combat strength, his strength increased greatly. With a shake of his spear, hundreds of rays of spear light were shot out, destroying the wind blades one by one. At the same time, the spear swept towards the lion-headed harpy along with the wind. Lu Ming's attack was already astonishingly fast. With the wind, it became even faster. The lion-headed harpy wanted to dodge, but it was too late. It was directly hit by the spear. Bang! The lion-headed, eagle-body beast exploded. What surprised Lu Ming was that after the lion-headed harpy exploded, there was not a drop of blood. It directly turned into energy and disappeared. Fake? It's not a real creature? Lu Ming was also stunned. Could it be that it was condensed by the array? However, this lion-headed harpy was too real. It was no different from a real one. Lu Ming could not distinguish it just now. After killing this lion-headed eagle beast, Lu Ming continued to move forward along the side. However, this time, he did not go far before he heard a few roars. Then, Lu Ming saw the lion-headed harpies again. Moreover, this time there was not one, but three. The three lion-headed harpies pounced on Lu Ming as soon as they saw Lu Ming. Then let's fight. Lu Ming's eyes were cold. He waved his spear and fought with the three lion-headed harpies. This time, they exchanged more than 100 moves. In this hurricane passage, Lu Ming had to resist the wind, and it was difficult for him to exert his full strength. However, the lion-headed harpies were like fish in water. They could exert their strength to the extreme. Therefore, even if the lion-headed harpies' level was not high, Lu Ming still spent a lot of effort to kill them. In this kind of environment, it's not bad to use it to train myself. Lu Ming smiled slightly. In this kind of adversity, Lu Ming had to go all out against the lion-headed harpies. He had to use his god's power and the battle formula to the extreme. After that exchange, Lu Ming felt that he had gained some understanding of the god's power and the battle formula. Although it was not much, it was still much faster than boring and bitter cultivation. Afterwards, Lu Ming found a large protruding rock and used it to stabilize his body. He circulated his energy to recover. Every time he used the battle formula, he needed to rest and recover. He could not use it continuously. Several hours later, Lu Ming had fully recovered and continued deeper into the passage. However, he did not go very far before several lion-headed harpies appeared and began to fight with Lu Ming. After exchanging more than 100 moves, Lu Ming finally managed to kill the lion-headed harpies. He had gained more understanding of the god's path and the battle formula. Baidu search Dong 81 Chinese Network O. No advertising message. Chapter 26:15. Just like that, Lu Ming continued to advance and kill along the way. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. There was still no end to the passage after 3 months. There were two main reasons for this. Firstly, this passage was too long. The second reason was that Lu Ming was advancing very slowly. This was because he would encounter the lion-headed eagle beasts every once in a while. Naturally, he would be slowed down. There was even one time when Lu Ming encountered more than 10 lion-head eagle beasts appearing at the same time. Lu Ming was no match for them and could only retreat against the wind. Luckily, these lion-head eagle beasts seemed to have their own territories. They stopped pursuing Lu Ming when he retreated to a certain area. Lu Ming continued to fight with the lion-head eagle beasts. Meanwhile, the Yuan Luo Hall master and the experts of the Yuan Luo Hall had finally broken the formation of the outermost door after 3 months. Crack! The door opened, and the Yuan Luo Hall master and the others rushed in excitedly. They were imagining that there was a large amount of treasure waiting for them. However, it was like a basin of cold water had been poured over them. Nothing at all. They searched every nook and cranny, but it was empty. There was nothing there. The Yuan Luo Hall master's face darkened. They had also searched the passage that Lu Ming had entered previously, but that gap had been blocked by Qiu. They had only scanned it casually and did not discover it. Soon, they arrived at the inner part and were blocked by the second door. Hall master, there is another door here. Perhaps we are only at the outer part of the cave, so there are no treasures here. Perhaps we can find a fortuitous encounter through this door. Great Elder Mo, Ken of the Yuan Luo Hall said. That's right, the treasures must be hidden inside. We will definitely find the treasures once we break this door. The others of the Yuan Luo Hall spoke one after another. The Yuan Luo Hall master's expression turned slightly better as he said, "All right, let's work together and break this door. I will not mistreat you all when we find the treasures." "Thank you, Hall Master." The others expressed their gratitude and began to attack the door together. However, their expressions turned ugly as soon as they attacked. This was because the strength of the array formation on this door was much stronger than the first door. The first door had taken them several months to break open. This door would probably take even longer. But now that things had come to this, they had no choice but to grit their teeth and attack. In the air above, the righteous Sky Army, the ancestor of techniques, and Fu Hong were still playing chess. What they were playing was not a real game of chess. It was a game of cultivation base and intelligence. Every move was a contest between the two of them and required a very long time. They were still playing chess with all their might. In the hurricane passage, Lu Ming was still moving forward slowly, fighting against the lion-head eagle-body beast. In this way, Lu Ming entered the hurricane passage. 8 months had passed. After 8 months of continuous fighting, Lu Ming had made great progress in all aspects. Lu Ming felt that his cultivation already reached the limits of a 5-star heavenly emperor and could already break through. My cultivation has indeed improved very quickly by constantly killing and tempering myself here. Lu Ming sighed with emotion. If he cultivated step by step outside, even in a good environment like the Chaos Universe, Lu Ming would need at least 5 years to break through. This was still under the premise that he had Jing Yu's portrait to study from time to time. But here, in less than a year, Lu Ming felt that he could break through. I have to find a better place to break through. Along the way, I also saw some pits, but I can break through in those pits. Lu Ming pondered. The walls here were bumpy and uneven, and there would often be some depressions. They were like shallow caves and were very good hiding places. Lu Ming continued forward. After a few more battles, Lu Ming finally found a pit. Entering the pit, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and circulated his cultivation to adjust his breathing. A few hours later, Lu Ming recovered to his peak state. Then he took out a pile of divine crystals and began to break through. This time, the breakthrough came naturally. There was no difficulty at all. Several days later, Lu Ming successfully stepped into the 6-star Heavenly Emperor realm. The price was that he consumed a total of more than 10,000 divine crystals. Stepping into the 6-star Heavenly Emperor realm, Lu Ming's strength became a little stronger again. However, the further one went in the Void God realm, the greater the gap between each level. When he broke through in the Heavenly Emperor realm, it became more and more difficult to fight across levels. If he did not use the battle character tactic, Lu Ming could at most contend with a level 4 Void God realm powerhouse by relying on his Tao of Sovereign. Moreover, it was barely enough. After successfully breaking through, Lu Ming continued forward, fighting with the lion-headed eagle beast to temper himself. In a flash, 1 year and 3 months had already passed since Lu Ming entered the hurricane passageway. And at this time Yuan Luo Hall Master and the rest were still blocked by the second door and did not break the array. Hall Master, not good. At this time, an expert from Yuan Luo Hall came in to report. What is it? Yuan Luo Hall Master asked with a gloomy face. He was in a bad mood. He had been here for more than a year, but until now he had not obtained anything. If this went on, it would be troublesome when Fu Hong could not hold the ancestor of technique back. Hall Master, the Walkabout sect leader, has brought people here. The expert from Yuan Luo Hall reported. That old man Situ, Yuan Luo Hall Master, gritted his teeth. Brother Kong, you are too unkind. There is an expert's cave here, and you want to take it for yourself without informing me. At this time, a cold voice sounded, and a group of people rushed in. The leader was a skinny middle-aged man. This person was the Walkabout sect leader, Situ Haonan. Brother Situ, you have misunderstood. There is a large array here. I originally wanted to break the array and inform you. Yuan Luo Hall Master said with a fake smile. Break the array and inform me? Situ Haonan sneered. Brother Kong, no matter how you put it, we're still allies. We joined hands to deal with the righteous army, and my Walkabout sect helped you hold back quite a few of their experts. That's why you had the chance to occupy this immortal cave. So my Walkabout sect also wants a share of this immortal cave. Brother Kong, do you have any objections? How much do you want? Yuan Luo Hall Master said. Half. The treasures inside, we will each take half. Situ Haonan said. Half? Yuan Luo Hall Master's face darkened and said, Brother Situ, your appetite is too big. Too big? Haha. Situ Haonan sneered and said, If I turn and leave now and attract Fa Ming, I'm afraid you won't even get half. Yuan Luo Hall Master's face turned ugly. Everything was for benefits. Yuan Luo Hall and the Walkabout sect had only joined hands for benefits. Now that an expert's cave was in front of them, their relationship was no longer as friendly. He had no doubt that Situ Haonan would do anything if he refused. Chapter 26:16. The Yuan Luo Hall Master squeezed out a smile and said, Brother Situ must be joking. All right, half it is. However, the great formation here is very sturdy and difficult to break. Next, the experts of the Walkabout sect will have to attack together. Of course. Situ Haonan smiled. Immediately, the experts of the Yuan Luo Hall and the Walkabout sect joined forces to attack the great formation. With the two of them working together, their speed increased greatly. It only took a month to break the great formation and open the door. Let's go. The experts from both sides rushed into the door, ready to plunder the treasures. But after entering, they were dumbfounded. It was clean and smooth, and there was nothing inside. They came to the place where Lu Ming took the pills. There were a few shelves here, but there was still nothing on the shelves. Completely empty, the Yuan Luo Hall Master's face was gloomy. His chest heaved up and down, and he almost vomited blood. Could it be that this cave dwelling was empty, and the master of the cave dwelling did not leave anything behind? It should not be. This was the cave dwelling of a heavenly god. Logically speaking, even if such a figure left, he would take away some valuable treasures, but he would still leave behind some unimportant items. They were not important to heavenly gods, but to them they might be priceless treasures. But how could there be nothing? Search carefully, the Yuan Luo Hall Master roared. They searched inside and out, but they couldn't find a single strand of hair. Finally, they came to the depths of this area. There was a passage here blocked by an extremely powerful formation. There's more inside. Perhaps the depths of the cave dwelling are inside. Perhaps the treasures are inside. The Yuan Luo Hall Master and the others could not help but have such thoughts to comfort themselves. Then they had no choice but to continue working hard and attack the Great Formation. However, the Great Formation here was even more astonishing. It was much stronger than the previous Great Formation. Even if the experts of the Walkabout sect joined forces, it would take a long time to break it open. Time passed quickly. It had already been 2 years since Lu Ming entered the Hurricane Passage. After continuous battles, Lu Ming improved very quickly. Unknowingly, his cultivation had reached the peak of a 6-star heavenly emperor. Lu Ming found another pit and began to break through to the next realm. In the end, he successfully broke through the realm, breaking through to 7-star heavenly emperor. Peak 7-star heavenly emperor, Lu Ming finally reached. The next step was to combine the 10,000 yuan into one and condense the divine flame. After condensing the divine flame, he would be able to break through to the martial god realm and enter the second step of cultivation. To the current Lu Ming, 10,000 elements returning to one and condensing divine fire was not particularly difficult. When Lu Ming arrived in the Your Wilds universe, his minor world had already fused with the Your Wilds universe, transforming it into pure world energy and sovereign power. Moreover, as Lu Ming's cultivation increased, the proportion of sovereign power in his body grew larger and larger. Currently, Lu Ming's sovereign power had reached 99%, and only 1% of his world energy remained. As long as he converted all the energy in his body into sovereign power, Lu Ming could start trying to combine all the origin powers and form the divine flame. This trip to the Immortal's Cave helped Lu Ming save a lot of time. Continue. After the breakthrough, Lu Ming continued to move forward along the passage. Huff, 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 rumble, rumble, rumble. This time, Lu Ming continued to move forward. Not only did he hear the terrifying whistling of the wind, but he also heard deafening collisions. Lu Ming continued to move forward and discovered that he had finally reached the end of the passage. At the end of the passage, there were a few passages that merged and converged. Each passage was filled with strong winds. When the winds from a few passages collided with each other, a shocking explosion could be heard. On top of that, the winds from a few passages had gathered in a larger passage, causing the wind in the passage to be shockingly strong. Lu Ming had a feeling that if he entered the passage, he would not be able to hold on for long before his body was torn apart by the wind. It seems like I have to stop here. I'm afraid I won't be able to enter the depths of the Immortal's cave, Lu Ming pondered. There's a cave here. Suddenly, Lu Ming discovered a pitch-black cave on the side of the wall. Lu Ming climbed along the wall and looked into the cave. He discovered that the cave was pitch-black and bottomless. Lu Ming had not discovered a similar cave along the way. Where did this cave lead to? Lu Ming was extremely curious. After pondering for a moment, Lu Ming decided to take a look. Lu Ming circulated his sovereign power, and his eyes glowed. He could see the pitch-black cave with a single glance. Lu Ming entered the cave. There was no wind in the cave. Lu Ming carefully moved forward along the cave. After several thousand meters, he reached the end of the cave. Then, Lu Ming discovered that he had arrived on a large platform. The platform was extremely wide. On one side of the platform, the whistling of the wind could be heard. Lu Ming walked over to take a look. In the direction of the platform, there was a hurricane passage. The wind there was extremely terrifying. It was many times stronger than what Lu Ming had encountered before. Lu Ming's expression was grave. He did not dare to approach the hurricane passage. He stayed away from the hurricane passage and looked at the other parts of the platform. On the other side of the platform, there was a stone door. Lu Ming pushed the door open and entered. He discovered that it was a passage. There were rooms on both sides of the passage. Oh, could these be bedrooms? Lu Ming discovered that there were stone tables and stone beds in these rooms. However, they were very ordinary and did not contain any treasures. The next few rooms had ordinary stone tables and beds. There was nothing valuable about them. When Lu Ming came to the last room, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. There were some shelves in this room. On top of them were various weapons. Lu Ming's heart began to beat rapidly. He picked up a battle sword and inserted his sovereign power. Buzz! The battle sword began to glow. A powerful aura spread out. This is a rank 9 lower grade divine artifact. Lu Ming's breathing quickened. His eyes were burning. This was definitely a rank 9 lower grade divine artifact. One must know that the meteor spear that Lu Ming bought was only a rank 6 lower grade divine artifact. Even so, it was worth 7,000 divine crystals. A rank 9 lower grade divine artifact's price would be many times higher. It would be normal to sell it for 70,000 to 80,000 divine crystals, or even 100,000 divine crystals. There are words below. Lu Ming discovered that there was a small plaque hanging on the hilt of this sword. There were words written on it. Ancient Moon Sword, rank 9 lower grade divine artifact. On the plaque, there was a line of words. It really is a rank 9 lower grade divine artifact. Lu Ming laughed and quickly put it away. He then looked at the other weapons. Clear Wind Hook, rank 9 lower grade divine artifact. Li He Saber, rank 8 lower grade divine artifact. Lu Ming looked at 6 or 7 weapons. They were all rank 7 lower grade divine artifacts and above. I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, Lu Ming muttered to himself. This time he really struck it rich. Lu Ming did not expect that after passing through the hurricane passage, he would gain so much. 6 war staff, rank 1 middle grade divine artifact. When Lu Ming picked up a long rod and took a look, his eyes lit up immediately. Chapter 26:17. There were even medial-grade divine artifacts here. A middle-grade divine artifact was equivalent to a true god expert. Only a true god expert could unleash the full power of a middle-grade divine artifact. Lu Ming's eyes burned even brighter. He put away the staff and sped up his search. Medial-grade divine artifacts, medial-grade divine artifacts, medial-grade divine artifacts. A moment later, Lu Ming put away all the weapons here. There were a total of 33 divine artifacts. All of them were low-grade divine artifacts or above. Any one of them was better than the meteor spear he was currently using. Among them, there were 20 low-grade divine artifacts. There were a total of 13 medial-grade divine artifacts. There were even 2 divine artifacts, the highest of which were mid-grade divine artifacts. One was a battle sword and the other was a battle saber. How many divine crystals could a mid-grade divine artifact be sold for? Lu Ming couldn't estimate at all. Even factions like the Righteous Army, Yuan Luo Palace, and the Walkabout sect couldn't take out divine artifacts of this level. They were too precious. Lu Ming had no idea how many divine crystals these 33 divine artifacts were worth. In short, he knew that he had struck it rich. He wouldn't have to worry about resources for a period of time. His disciples, family, friends, and members of the Dragon Alliance wouldn't have to worry about resources either. I can exchange for the meteor spear now. Lu Ming was all smiles. There were several spears among the 33 divine artifacts. The highest grade was a mid-grade divine artifact of 4th grade. There was also a low-grade divine artifact of 8th grade and 9th grade. Lu Ming picked up a low-grade divine artifact and swung it a few times. He felt that it was quite good. After taking all the divine artifacts, Lu Ming wandered around a bit. After confirming that there were no more treasures here, Lu Ming left. Forward. With my cultivation, I can't go in. I can go back now. Lu Ming was satisfied. Then he went through the cave and returned to the hurricane passage. Then he followed the original path and climbed up the rocks to return. Going back was against the wind, so it was extremely difficult. However, Lu Ming had already killed all of the lion-headed eagle beasts in this hurricane passage. When he returned, there were no lion-headed eagle beasts blocking his way. Moreover, Lu Ming's cultivation had increased by another level, so his speed was still very fast. Even though they were traveling against the wind, their speed was still much faster than when they had arrived. After Lu Ming had crawled back for some time, the people from the Yuan Luo Hall and the Walkabout sect finally opened the array formation of the passageway. They hurried through the passageway. At the end of this passage was the place where Lu Ming had obtained a large number of divine artifacts. After that, the hall master of the Yuan Luo Hall, Sidu Haonan, and the others discovered that this place was still empty. Other than some stone stools and tables, there was nothing else. What happened? Yuan Luo Hall master roared. He could no longer control his temper. After a lot of hard work, he found that there was nothing here. If he knew that Lu Ming had already reached this place, he would probably vomit blood from anger. Everyone's expression was extremely ugly. Then, when they discovered the hurricane passage, their expressions became even uglier. The hurricane passage here was already the convergence of several passages. Its power was astonishing. Even the hall master of the Yuan Luo Hall was wary of it. This should be a blockade set up by the cave master. Could it be that the true inner cave is in the depths of these hurricane passages? They guessed. However, for a moment they were hesitant. Usually, such a place would be accompanied by danger. Let's observe for a few days before making a decision, Yuan Luo Hall master said. In the sky above the headquarters of the Jingtian army, the ancestor of techniques, and Fu Hong had been playing chess for more than 2 years. And now, it was already the final moment. Break! The ancestor of techniques waved his hand, and a giant chess piece was formed and placed on the chessboard. Fu Heng's expression changed. With a wave of his hand, a powerful force surged towards the ancestor of techniques, preventing him from placing the chess piece. Boom! Boom! The two of them continued to exchange blows. In the past 2 years, the two of them had exchanged blows countless times. After a dozen moves, boom! In the end, the ancestor of technique's chess piece still landed on the chessboard. You've lost! The ancestor of techniques looked at Fu Hong. Brother Fa is indeed amazing. This old man is impressed. The game is over, and this old man has fulfilled his promise. Brother Fa, please don't blame me. Let's go. With a wave of his sleeve, Fu Hong soared into the sky and a starship appeared. He boarded the starship and left the Zhengtian planet, Northern Shang planet. As soon as Fu Hong left, the ancestor of techniques immediately went to the Northern Shang planet. After arriving at the Seven Stars Island, he immediately rushed to the Qin gold mine and met up with the Jingtian army 100,000 miles away from the Qin gold island. The army lord is here. Army lord! The Jingtian army immediately bowed to the ancestor of techniques. What's the situation in the Yuan Luo Hall these past 2 years? The ancestor of techniques asked. Army lord, the Yuan Luo Hall master, and the walkabout sect master have been in the cave abodes of the experts for the past 2 years. Someone reported. That old fox Sidu Haonan is also here. A sharp light flashed through the ancestor of technique's eyes as he ordered, Wait for me here. I'll go check out myself. Then the ancestor of techniques turned into a ray of light and shot towards Chen Jingquang. It's the Jingtian army's army, Lord Fa Ming. Inform the hall masters. As soon as the ancestor of techniques arrived, the Yuan Luo Hall and the walkabout sect immediately noticed him. Under the lead of a few true God realm experts, they became cautious and sent a message to the Yuan Luo Hall master. The Yuan Luo Hall master and Situ Haonan received the message at the same time. Fa Ming dares to come alone? Fine, we'll make him stay today. A cold light flashed through the Yuan Luo Hall master's eyes. After spending a few years and not getting anything, he was filled with anger. Fine, after we get rid of Fa Ming, we'll split the Zhengtian army's territory. Situ Haonan said coldly. Old Mo, hide in the dark. Fa Ming might think that you're still guarding the headquarters. Later, Brother Situ and I will fight with Fa Ming. Then you sneak attack Fa Ming, the Yuan Luo Hall master ordered. The Yuan Luo Hall master was wary of the ancestor of techniques. He and Mo were both at the 4th level True God realm, while the ancestor of techniques was only at the 3rd level True God realm. However, the ancestor of techniques was extremely strong. He could fight against the two of them alone. Even with Sidu Haonan, they weren't confident that they could make the ancestor of techniques stay in a direct battle. If the ancestor of techniques wanted to leave, they couldn't stop him. Only a sneak attack could make the ancestor of techniques stay. Don't worry. The Grand Elder of the Walkabout sect is also hiding near Qin Jingquang's vein. He can also sneak attack when the time comes. Today, we must make Fa Ming stay. Situ Haonan said coldly. The Yuan Luo Hall master's heart trembled as he secretly called Situ Haonan an old fox. Situ Haonan had asked the Grand Elder of the Walkabout sect to hide in the dark. It was most likely to guard against the Yuan Luo Hall. Fine. Today, we'll make sure that Fa Ming doesn't return. The Yuan Luo Hall master said coldly. The group of people headed outside. Chapter 26:18. Outside the cave, the ancestor of technique stood in the air, his body emitting a vast divine aura. set up the formation. The experts of Yuan Luo and the free and unfettered sect guarding the cave all had solemn expressions as they retreated and set up a great formation. The ancestor of technique was too famous. A person who had walked out of a lesser thousand world under the jurisdiction of Yuan Luo Palace had broken free from Yuan Luo's shackles and risen to power, establishing the righteous army to fight against Yuan Luo Palace. Most importantly, the ancestor of technique's strength was incomparably powerful. He had fought against 2 experts of Yuan Luo Palace alone and established a great reputation for himself. Although there was a level 3 true god from Yuan Luo Palace present who had the same cultivation as the ancestor of technique, his face was pale and his heart trembled when facing the ancestor of technique. He had once seen the ancestor of technique kill a level 3 true god expert with one move. He didn't have the slightest bit of courage when facing the ancestor of technique. "Kong Ji, get out here." The ancestor of technique shouted coldly, his voice rumbling and causing many people with weaker cultivation to retreat. "Fa Ming, do you only know how to be arrogant in front of my subordinates?" The voice of Yuan Luo Palace Master Kong Ji came from within the cave, following which more than 10 silhouettes rushed out of the cavern. It was Kong Ji, Situ Haonan, and the others. Of course, the supreme elder of Yuan Luo Palace, Missouri Kan, didn't appear. Kong Ji's gaze swept across and found that only Fa Ming was present. The coldness in his eyes intensified. "Kong Ji, Chun Jindao originally belonged to the righteous army. Now you can scram." The ancestor of technique said, "Ha ha ha, what a joke, what a joke." Kong Ji laughed and looked mockingly at the ancestor of technique. "Fa Ming, you're really naive. You've been in the chaotic Star River for so many years. Haven't you understood one thing? In the chaotic Star River, whoever is stronger will be able to occupy more territory. From today onwards, this island, no, the entire northern Shang planet will belong to Yuan Luo Palace and the free and unfettered sect. Do you understand? If that's the case, then let's talk with strength." The ancestor of technique was very direct. He stepped forward and a vast divine power erupted like a tide. Boom! The ancestor of techniques pressed down with his palm. Divine power boiled as a gigantic palm print slammed down on Kong Ji. Kong Ji didn't dare to be careless. His LV4 True God Realm divine power exploded. A saber appeared in his hand. A saber light shot up into the sky and slashed at the ancestor of technique's palm print. Boom! Energy surged into the sky as divine powers collided, creating shockwaves that spread out in all directions. Not good, block it. The True God Realm experts of the Yuan Luo Hall and the Walkabout sect set up defenses in front of them to block the shockwaves, but they were still pushed back by the shockwaves. Those with weaker cultivations directly coughed up blood, their faces pale. If there were true divinity powerhouses defending them, those with weaker cultivations would most likely be killed by the shockwaves. There was a huge gap between empty God Realm and True God Realm. At the same time, the saber light and palm print dissipated, and a figure retreated continuously. The person who retreated was Kong Ji. His cultivation was clearly at the 4th level True God Realm, 1 level higher than the ancestor of techniques, but in a head-on battle he was at a disadvantage. "Kong Ji, your battle strength is not enough." The ancestor of technique spoke coldly. He manipulated his divine power and slammed down again. "Scorching Sun Saber Technique," Kong Ji shouted. His 4th level middle divine artifact saber radiated a dazzling saber light that was as dazzling as the sun. Then he slashed out with a saber, and the blazing saber light slashed at the ancestor of technique's palm print. Kong Ji had used a divine skill. "Fa Ming, take this." The sect leader of the Walkabout sect, Situ Haonan, also attacked. His body moved like a flickering shadow as he charged at the ancestor of technique. At the same time, a soft sword appeared in his hand. The sword light was like a poisonous snake as it stabbed at the ancestor of Technique's vitals. At the same time, this was also a terrifying divine skill. Kangji and Situ Haonan had both used their divine skills. The ancestor of Technique's face finally turned serious. A 2-meter-long battle sword appeared in his hand. Swoosh! The ancestor of Technique slashed out with his sword, and the sword light exploded. Boom! Boom! There were 2 loud explosions as the ancestor of Technique blocked Kangji and Situ Haonan's attacks. Fei Ming, since you dared to come here alone today, you shall stay here forever. Kangji continued to channel his divine power and unleashed his divine skill to the maximum. Its power was extremely terrifying as he attacked head-on. At the same time, Situ Haonan's body flickered as he moved around at an extremely fast speed. He took the opportunity to attack the ancestor of Technique's vitals. The 2 of them worked together, and their power increased exponentially. The ancestor of Technique focused his attention and fought 1 against 2. It was difficult to tell who would win. The 3 of them fought on the surface of the sea, stirring up huge waves. Then they fought in the air. In the blink of an eye, the 3 of them had exchanged more than 100 blows, and it was difficult to tell who would win. Then, the 3 of them fought on the surface of the sea. Whoosh! Suddenly, the surface of the sea rolled, and a terrifying light of destruction burst out from the surface of the sea and attacked the ancestor of Technique. Mo Can, the ancestor of Technique, shouted angrily, "Haha, Fei Ming Dai." Kangji laughed loudly and launched a violent attack. Situ Haonan also attacked with all his might and cooperated with Mo Can's sneak attack. Just as the ancestor of Technique was about to be hit, the sword light on his body suddenly exploded. Rays of sword light burst out and filled the sky. Boom! 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 Kangji, Situ Haonan, and Mo Can's attacks were all blocked by the sword light that filled the sky. Swoosh! Swoosh! Kangji, Situ Haonan, and Mo Can quickly retreated. They stood in the air and looked at the ancestor of Technique in shock. Fei Ming, you've cultivated your divine skill to the 3rd level. Kangji roared in shock. A divine skill was an offensive skill of the martial god realm. It could unleash the power of one's divine force to the extreme and burst out with terrifying power. It was the same as a martial skill. According to the difference in power and degree of mystery, divine skills were divided into different grades. However, the division of divine skills was related to the degree of mystery. For example, if a divine skill only had 1 level, even if it was cultivated to the peak, it would only have 1 level. That would be the 1st level of the divine skill. Some divine skills, when cultivated to the peak, had 2 levels. That would be the 2nd level of the divine skill. 2 levels of the divine skill would naturally be stronger and more terrifying than a single level of the divine skill. Some divine skills, when cultivated to the peak, had 3 levels. That would be the 3rd level of the divine skill. The more levels a divine skill had, the greater its potential and the higher its value. Of course, the cultivation of a divine skill was very profound and complicated. Even if you had it, you might not be able to cultivate it to the highest level. For example, if a person's talent was limited and he had 3 levels of the divine skill, but he could only cultivate it to the 1st level, then its power would be no different from a single level of the divine skill. The more profound it was, the more levels it had. There were 4 levels, 5 levels, 6 levels, and even 9 levels and 10 levels. If one wanted to cultivate a divine skill, the minimum requirement was to reach the peak of the empty god realm. This was because using a divine skill would consume a lot of divine force. Without a strong divine force, one would not be able to support it. Kangji and Situ Haonan both had 3 levels of the divine skill, but they had only cultivated it to the 2nd level. The ancestor of Technique also had 3 levels of the divine skill, but he had already cultivated it to the 3rd level. Chapter 2619. One had to know that the ancestor of technique was only a level 3 true god, but he had already cultivated a divine skill to the 3rd level. This level of comprehension was simply terrifying. I must kill him. Kang Ji roared in his heart. The ancestor of technique was already so terrifying. If he broke through to the level 4 true god realm, it would be even more terrifying. So what if you've cultivated a divine skill to the 3rd level? You're still going to die today. Kang Ji roared and charged towards the ancestor of technique. At the same time, Situ Haonan and Mo can also charge towards the ancestor of technique. Each of them unleashed the full power of their divine skills. Sword-breaking technique. The ancestor of technique's battle, sword stabbed out continuously. More than a dozen sword lights pierced towards Kang Ji, Situ Haonan, and Mo, Kansas. This was the ancestor of technique's divine skill. It had already been cultivated to the 3rd level and was extremely powerful. It constantly clashed with Kang Ji and the others' attacks. In the air, the ancestor of technique's figure retreated rapidly. However, he still managed to block Kang Ji and the others' attacks. He was only at a slight disadvantage. Kill, kill! Kang Ji was extremely shocked. With the strength of the 3 of them, they were actually unable to take down the ancestor of techniques. Didn't that mean that without Situ Haonan, he and Mo were no match for the ancestor of techniques? He must kill the ancestor of technique, or he wouldn't be able to eat or sleep in peace. Situ Haonan also had the same thought. The walkabout sect's strength was similar to the Yuan Luo palaces. The 3 of them charged towards the ancestor of technique again. The 2 sides were locked in a fierce battle. Force him closer to the island. In the midst of the battle, Situ Haonan sent a message to Kang Ji and Mo, Kansas. Kang Ji's eyes flashed with a trace of ferocity. Violent attacks continuously blasted out, gradually forcing the ancestor of technique towards Chinjin Island. On Chinjin Island, the people of Yuan Luo Palace and the Walkabout sect had all retreated far away. They didn't dare to stay there. Slowly, their battlefield moved to Chinjin Island. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sword light burst out from a secret place on Chinjin Island. The sword light was bright and sharp. Its power was extremely terrifying and not any weaker than Situ Haonan's. You, the ancestor of technique, revealed a shocked expression. He knew that he had been ambushed. There was even an expert on the other side. Needless to say, he knew this was a 4th stage true god realm grand elder of the Walkabout sect. The ancestor of technique tried his best to dodge, but Kang Ji and the other 2 launched a fierce attack, making it difficult for the ancestor of technique to dodge. Puff! In the end, the ancestor of technique didn't manage to dodge it completely. A streak of sword light slashed across his chest, almost cutting him in half. Scram! The ancestor of techniques roared furiously. At that instant, over 100 sword glows were fired, forcing Kang Ji and the others to back away. With a flash, Kang Ji and the other 3 surrounded the ancestor of techniques. Very good. I didn't expect that the strongest of both of your forces would be here. The ancestor of technique's face was somewhat pale. Although he managed to avoid being hit in his vitals, he still suffered some injuries, and his strength weakened a little. F.A. Ming, your fate is sealed today. You're just an ant from a minor chiliocosm. It's impossible for you to defy the heavens. Kang Ji said coldly, Ha ha ha. So what if it's a minor 1,000 world? Could it be that you are noble just because you were born in the primordial world? How laughable! If it's a one-on-one battle, all of you are nothing but clay chickens and pottery dogs. The ancestor of technique coldly snickered, and his face was full of disdain. The faces of Kang Ji and the other 3 darkened. Indeed, if it was a one-on-one battle, none of them would be a match for the ancestor of techniques, even though their cultivations were much higher than theirs. You only know how to talk. The winner takes all. Fa Ming, I'll send you on your way. Kong Ji didn't waste any more words and charged towards the ancestor of techniques. At the same time, Situ Haonan and the other two also launched their attacks. Before, the ancestor of techniques was slightly weaker than the three of them. Now that he was injured, he was even weaker against the four of them. As soon as they started to exchange blows, he was at a disadvantage. The Righteous Sky Army Lord is finished. In the future, the Righteous Sky Army's territory will belong to our two forces. Not far away, the people of the Yuan Luo Palace and the Walkabout sect thought excitedly. Boom! Boom! The ancestor of techniques and the other four clashed fiercely. The ancestor of techniques was at a disadvantage and could only block with all his strength. Bam! After a few dozen exchanges, the ancestor of techniques' body was sent flying and heavily smashed into the Chun Gold Island. Boom! Dust filled the air and the Chun Gold ores flew everywhere. A giant hole appeared on the island. At this moment, Lu Ming had already passed through the hurricane tunnel and returned to the Chun Gold mine. He followed the tunnel that Chiu Chiu had dug out and headed out of the Chun Gold Island. Boom! 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 He had only walked halfway when a violent explosion came from above. Then he felt the entire island shake. Then a terrifying force rushed towards him along the vein above. Not good. Lu Ming retreated quickly. The Chun Gold mine in this area kept exploding, and Lu Ming was sent flying by the force. The ancestor of techniques lay in the deep hole on the island and spat out blood. This attack had worsened his injuries. Whoosh! The ancestor of techniques barely stabilized his injuries and charged out of the deep hole. Kong Ji and the other three's auras locked onto the ancestor of techniques and trapped him in the middle. Suddenly, Kong Ji and the others were stunned because they felt the aura of life in a pile of rocks. Bam! Then the pile of rocks exploded and a figure charged out. This figure was naturally Lu Ming. Chiu Chiu, what's going on? Lu Ming was speechless. He had also encountered an unexpected disaster after passing through the Chun Gold mine. When he glanced at Kong Ji and the others, his heart skipped a beat. Kong Ji and the others' auras were too terrifying. To Lu Ming, they were unfathomable. Lu Ming, why are you here? At this moment, the ancestor of techniques also saw Lu Ming and was shocked. He flashed and appeared beside Lu Ming. Ancestor of techniques. Seeing the ancestor of techniques, Lu Ming was overjoyed. So it's an ant from the Jingtian army. Fa Ming, it's your fortune to have a brat die with you. Kong Ji said coldly as the ferocity in his eyes grew stronger. Kong Ji, master of the Yuan Luo Palace. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as thoughts flashed through his mind. He roughly knew what had happened. The ancestor of techniques was surrounded. Don't worry, Fa Ming. After you die, I'll send the people of the Jingtian army down to accompany you. Situ Haonan also said coldly. The four of them gradually approached the ancestor of techniques and prepared to launch a thunderous attack to kill the ancestor of techniques. Senior, this battle sword is for you. At this moment, Lu Ming took out a battle sword and handed it to the ancestor of techniques. This combat sword was one of the two middle-grade, 7th-level divine weapons that Lu Ming had obtained from the cave abode. Seeing this battle sword, the ancestor of techniques immediately widened his eyes in shock. However, without hesitation, he took it and spat a mouthful of blood onto the battle sword. He didn't have time to refine it now, but by using his blood as a sacrifice, he could temporarily unleash the power of the battle sword and control it freely. Buzz! The battle sword vibrated and a sword chi shot into the sky. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.